Real quick note, folks. This is Robert, the creator of the channel you're listening to, Dark Horror Narrations. I have really enjoyed making these stories and watching this channel grow. Moving forward, starting with this video, all stories will be narrated in my own voice. I spent the beginning of this channel just learning how to make thumbnails, come up with video ideas, edit, and so on. Now that I have these things down pretty well, I have the time and energy to dedicate to actually self-narrating. As always, thank you for all the support and love on the channel. Can't wait to see where we take this. Now, to our regularly scheduled programming. The thing climbing the tower stairs sounded exactly like me, calling my own name from below, asking myself if I was okay up there. I could see its silhouette through the metal grating. The ranger hat, the right jacket, but its knees were bending backward with each step. I've been volunteering at Bosque del Apache for 3 years now. It's a wildlife refuge about an hour south of Albuquerque. It sits right along the Rio Grande. Every fall, thousands of sandhill cranes and snow geese migrate through. It's actually beautiful if you're into that sort of thing. I started volunteering after my divorce. Needed something to do with my weekends that didn't involve drinking alone in my apartment. The overnight monitoring shifts are usually pretty quiet. You sit in the observation tower with binoculars and a data sheet, count birds, log any unusual activity, make sure no one's spotlighting deer or causing trouble. It's peaceful, honestly. I'd done maybe 20 of these shifts before that night in late October of 2023. I drove out there around 8 p.m. on a Friday. Sun was already down, temperature dropping into the 40s. I had my sleeping bag, thermos of coffee, headlamp, the whole setup. The refuge closes at dusk, so it was just me and whoever was on ranger duty, which that night was supposed to be Tom Yazzie. Tom's a good guy, been working there for 15 years. Navajo, doesn't talk much, but he knows that land better than anyone. When I pulled into the volunteer parking area near the observation tower, his truck was already there. I saw him doing his evening rounds near the pond about 200 yards out, checking the gates. I grabbed my gear and headed up the tower. It's about 30 feet tall. Metal frame construction with enclosed observation room at the top. Has these big windows on all 4 sides, a space heater, a logbook, and a 2-way radio for emergencies. Pretty comfortable as far as bird watching stations go. Around 9 p.m., Tom radioed up to check in. "Jake, you all set up there?" "Yeah, all good, Tom. Quiet night so far. Should stay that way. I'm heading out early tonight. Got a family thing in Socorro. You comfortable being solo?" "Yeah, no problem. I've done it before." "Alright. Radio's charged if you need anything. Park Service has someone on call. Stay warm." Will do. See you next week." I heard his truck start up a few minutes later. Watched his headlights sweep across the access road and disappear toward the highway. Then it was just me and about 50,000 birds settling in for the night across the wetlands. The first hour was completely normal. I logged crane movements, tracked a few owls hunting the marsh edges, drank coffee, checked my phone. No signal out there, but I downloaded some podcasts earlier. Around 10:30, I stepped outside onto the observation platform to stretch my legs. That's when I heard it. A crane call. Perfect sandhill crane call. That rolling trumpet sound they make. But it was coming from the wrong direction. From the maintenance shed area about a quarter-mile west. Cranes don't hang around the buildings. They stay near the water. And this call sounded close. Too close. I grabbed my binoculars and scanned the area. Nothing. Just dark buildings and the tree line beyond. Then I saw movement near the equipment shed. A figure walking slowly along the fence line. They had a flashlight, ranger jacket, wide-brimmed hat. I assumed maybe Tom forgot something and came back. Or maybe it was the on-call ranger doing a surprise check. But something felt off. The figure moved with a strange, deliberate pace, sweeping the flashlight side to side in a pattern that seemed almost theatrical. like someone pretending to search for something rather than actually searching. I watched for maybe 2 minutes. The figure moved behind the shed and I lost sight of it. I went back inside, sat down, tried to refocus on the logbook. Probably just a ranger doing their job, I told myself. Nothing weird about that. At 11:45, I heard footsteps on the gravel below the tower. Jake, a man's voice, calling up from the base of the tower. It sounded like Tom, but something about the inflection was wrong. Like someone doing an impression of Tom without quite getting the rhythm right. I leaned out the observation room door. Tom, that you? Yeah, just me. Doing final rounds. The pauses between words were too long. Each phrase sounded rehearsed. I couldn't see him clearly from that angle. He was standing directly under the tower platform in the shadows. I could make out the ranger hat, the jacket. Thought you left for Socorro. I called down. Long pause. Came back. Forgot my thermos. Tom doesn't drink from a thermos. He drinks from a specific Yeti mug with a dent in the side. I've seen it 100 times. You need help finding it? I asked, testing. Another long pause. No, just checking on you. You doing okay up there, Jake? The way he said my name, it was like he'd just learned the word. The emphasis on the second syllable instead of the first. J-A-K-E instead of J-K-E. I'm good, I said, keeping my voice steady. Quiet night. Good. Good. Stay warm, Jake. I heard footsteps moving away on the gravel, circling around toward the east side of the tower. I went to the east window and looked down. Nothing. No figure. No flashlight beam. Nothing. My heart was pounding now. I grabbed the radio. Tom, if you're in range, can you give me a radio check? Nothing. I tried again. Static. And then I tried the Park Service emergency frequency. This is Volunteer Jake Brennan at Bosk Observation Tower. Requesting radio check. Over. After about 30 seconds, a woman's voice crackled through. Copy, Jake. This is dispatch. What's your situation? I'm not sure. Someone's walking around the tower in ranger gear, but I can't confirm identity. Tom Yazzie left hours ago. Can you verify if any rangers are on site? Stand by. Those 2 minutes felt like an hour. Jake, we show no ranger units on site at Boss Gate at night. Tom signed out at 21:15. You see this person now? Negative. They were at the tower base about 5 minutes ago. Copy. Stay inside the observation room with door secured. We're dispatching a unit from San Antonio. ETA 40 minutes. Do not leave the tower. Confirm? Confirmed. I locked the observation room door. It's not much, just a simple latch, but it made me feel slightly better. I killed the interior lights and watched from the windows. Midnight came and went. No movement outside. Just wind across the marsh grass and the distant sound of geese on the water. Then at 12:30 a.m. I heard it again. That crane call. But this time it was directly below the tower, maybe 20 feet away. That perfect rolling trumpet, but coming from something that definitely wasn't a bird. I looked down. The figure was back, standing at the base of the tower stairs, looking up. I still couldn't make out features, just the silhouette of the hat and jacket. It stood completely motionless, and it started climbing the stairs. The footsteps were wrong, too evenly spaced, mechanical almost. Each footfall had the same exact weight, the same timing. A human climbing stairs shifts their weight, varies their rhythm slightly. This didn't. I pressed myself against the back wall of the observation room, grabbed the largest flashlight. I had a 4-battery spotlight we keep for emergencies. My hand was shaking so bad I almost dropped it. The footsteps reached the first platform, about 15 feet up. I could hear them circling to the second flight of stairs. Then I heard my own voice. Jake? Coming from below me, calling up. My voice, my exact cadence, my tone, everything. Jake, are you okay up there? I wanted to scream, but I held it together. I moved to the door, looked through the small window. The thing was at the second platform now, maybe 10 feet below the observation room entrance. Its back was to me, looking down at the ground, calling to itself in my voice. Jake, you alright? That's when it turned around. I saw it through the metal grating of the stairs. The ranger uniform hung on it wrong, too loose in some places, too tight in others. The hat sat at an odd angle, and its legs, when it started climbing again, I saw what I mentioned at the beginning. Its knees bent backward, hyperextending with each step, like a bird's legs. It was climbing the stairs like a crane would. If a crane was pretending to be human, it reached the landing just outside the observation room door. I could hear it breathing, if you could call it breathing, more like air moving through a hollow space. It stood there maybe 3 feet away, separated from me by just the door and that flimsy latch. Then it spoke in my voice again, but this time I hadn't said anything recently for it to copy. It was improvising. Let me in, Jake. It's cold out here. I need to come inside. Its hand appeared in the window. Wrong proportions, fingers too long, nails that looked more like talons, filed down to approximate human nails. It tried the latch. I raised the spotlight, pointed it directly at the window, and flicked it on. 6,000 lumens hit it square in the face. The thing recoiled, stumbled backward on those wrong bending legs, and let out a sound I'll never forget. It started as my voice screaming, then shifted mid-scream into something between a crane's call and a coyote's howl. It fell against the railing, caught itself, and I finally saw its face in the light. It looked almost human. Almost. The eyes were too far apart, reflective, like an animal's. The mouth moved wrong, lips pulling back to show teeth that were just slightly too pointed. And the skin, it looked like leather that had been stretched over a frame that wasn't quite the right shape. It hissed at the light, covered his face with those long fingered hands, and scrambled down the stairs. I kept the spotlight trained on it, watching it retreat. At the bottom of the tower, it stopped, turned back to look up at me one more time. Then it ran, but it didn't run like a person. It dropped to all fours and moved like a wolf, that ranger jacket flapping loose as it sprinted toward the tree line west of the refuge. I watched until it disappeared into the darkness. I kept every light on in that observation room for the next 30 minutes. When I finally heard a truck engine approaching, I used the spotlight to verify it was actually a Park Service vehicle before I would respond to their radio calls. 2 rangers came up to the tower. I recognized one of them, Sarah Kim. Worked there for 5 years. I'd never been so happy to see another human being. I told them everything. Showed them the scratches on the door latch where that thing had tried to get in. They took photos, wrote it all down, stayed with me until sunrise. Tom came by the next morning, verified he'd left at 9:15 like he'd said. We walked around the tower base in daylight, found tracks in the dirt near the stairs. They started as boot prints, normal tread pattern, normal size, but about 10 feet from the tower they changed mid-stride into something else. 4-toed prints, clawed, canine-shaped, but too large. They led toward the tree line and vanished. Sarah pulled the incident logbook from the ranger station that afternoon. She showed me 2 other reports, one from September of 1997, another from October of 2003, both from overnight volunteers in that same tower, both describing someone in ranger uniform calling to them at night with wrong voice inflections, wrong movements. One of them mentioned the backward bending knees. The 1997 report ended with a note from Tom Yazzie, back when he was a new ranger. Advised volunteer, this area is known to Dene people. Some things walk here at night wearing borrowed faces. They test boundaries, stay in light. They rarely cross into lit spaces. I still volunteer at Bosque. Haven't done an overnight shift since, probably never will again. But I go during the day, help with bird counts, maintain trails, do the safe normal work. And I'll tell you what I learned, what Tom confirmed when I finally asked him about it directly a few weeks later. If someone in uniform approaches you at night in remote areas and you didn't see them arrive, if their voice sounds just slightly off, if they move wrong, if they know your name but say it like they're reading it from a card, stay in lit spaces, verify identity by radio, don't open doors, don't trust silhouettes. These things, whatever they are, they're patient. They'll watch you for hours, learn your voice, learn your face, learn your mannerisms. They're good at imitation, but they're not perfect, and they seem to follow old rules, boundaries they choose not to cross. Light is one of those boundaries, not because it hurts them necessarily, but because it reveals what they really are. And they seem to prefer operating in that gray space where you can't quite see clearly, where doubt lives, where fear overrides reason. Tom told me his grandfather taught him about them when he was young, called them by a word I won't repeat because Tom asked me not to, said speaking the name invites attention. But he told me they've been in that area for longer than the refuges existed, longer than the Spanish came through, longer than anyone can remember. They test people, they mimic, they learn, and every few years someone reports them. The refuge added a new protocol after my incident. Overnight volunteers now go in pairs. Both observation towers have upgraded exterior lighting, and there's a strict radio check-in schedule every hour. No one goes solo anymore. I saw Tom a few months ago, near the visitor center. He asked how I was doing, if I was sleeping okay. I told him the truth. Some nights, I still hear my own voice calling to me from outside my apartment, asking if I'm okay in there. It stops when I turn on the porch light. He nodded like he understood, like maybe he'd heard similar things over the years. Then he said something I think about a lot. They want to understand us. That's why they copy. But they can't get it exactly right because they're not us. Never were, never will be. The mistakes they make, those wrong little details, that's what keeps us safe. The day they learn to imitate perfectly, that's when we should really worry. I asked him if he thought that day would come. He looked out at the marsh, at the thousands of cranes, feeding in the shallows, living their lives like they've always done, and said, no, I think they know they're better off being what they are. The imitation is just curiosity, or maybe a warning, reminding us we're not alone out here, that we never really were. I finished my shift that day, helped with the sunset bird count, and drove home. I keep my porch light on every night now. It's a small thing, probably makes no real difference, but it helps me sleep. And if you're ever out in remote areas at night, if someone approaches you in the dark, wearing the right uniform, saying the right things, but something feels off, trust that feeling. Stay in the light, verify by radio, lock your doors, and if you hear your own voice calling to you from outside, asking if you're okay, don't answer it. Just turn on every light you have and wait for sunrise. Because whatever it is that walks around out there, wearing borrowed faces and speaking in stolen voices, it knows where you are now, and it's learning. If you found this story unsettling, you're not alone. These encounters happen more often than people realize in remote areas across the Southwest. I've got more stories like this, real experiences from people who've seen things they can't explain. If this resonated with you, hit that like button so others who need to hear these warnings can find them. Drop a comment if you've experienced something similar, or if you work in remote areas and want to share your own protocols for staying safe. And subscribe because I've got several more accounts from New Mexico alone that need to be told. Stay safe out there and stay in the light. The man knocking on my driver's side window had my brother's face, my brother's voice, calling me by the nickname only he used. But my brother died in 2016, and this thing's fingers were too long, pressing against the glass with nails that curved wrong. And when it smiled at me, I could see there were too many teeth behind those familiar lips. Let me start from the beginning because the context matters here. I'm a medical equipment sales rep based out of Albuquerque. My territory covers basically the entire northwest corner of New Mexico, which means I spend a lot of time driving through absolutely nothing. Empty highways, reservation land, high desert that stretches for miles without a single building. You get used to it after a while. The isolation becomes normal. That night was a Thursday in November of 2024. I'd spent the day in Farmington doing demos at the hospital there. Closed a decent contract for some imaging equipment. I was in a good mood, looking forward to getting home, maybe grabbing dinner with my girlfriend Sarah. It was around 8:30 p.m. when I started the drive back to Albuquerque. Highway 550 south from Bloomfield is one of those roads that feels like it goes on forever. 2 lanes, mostly straight, cuts through Jicarilla Apache Reservation land and then through absolutely nothing for long stretches. During the day it's boring. At night it's almost meditative. Just you, your headlights, and the occasional pair of eyes reflecting from the shoulder where deer or elk are grazing. I'd made this drive probably 200 times in the 3 years I'd been working this territory, never had a single problem. My car was a 2023 Honda Accord, well maintained, reliable. I kept up with all the service intervals, always had a full tank before long drives. I wasn't some idiot driving a beater through the desert unprepared. Around 9:45 p.m., about 20 miles south of Cuba, my dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. Check engine light, battery light, temperature warning, everything at once. Then the power steering went, then the headlights dimmed. I managed to coast onto the shoulder before the engine died completely. Just stopped, everything shut off, dash went dark. I sat there for a second in complete silence, watching my breath fog in the sudden cold, because the heater died too. "You've gotta be kidding me," I said out loud to nobody. I tried restarting it. Nothing. Not even a click. Completely dead. I grabbed my phone. No service. Of course, no service. I was in one of those dead zones that covers about 40 miles of that highway. I'd lost signal around Cuba and wouldn't get it back until I was closer to San Ysidro. I popped the hood, grabbed my flashlight from the glove box, and got out to take a look. Not that I'm a mechanic, but sometimes it's something obvious like a loose battery cable or something. I checked what I could. Everything looked normal. Battery connections were tight. No visible leaks. No burning smell. Nothing obviously wrong. The temperature was dropping fast. I could see my breath in the flashlight beam. Probably low 40s, heading toward freezing. I was wearing a button-down shirt and slacks. Business attire. Not exactly dressed for standing on the highway in November. I looked both ways down the road. Nothing. No headlights in either direction. The highway was completely empty. I got back in the car, locked the doors, force a habit, and tried to think through my options. I had maybe half a bottle of water, an empty coffee cup, my laptop bag, and a light jacket in the back seat. No blankets, no emergency supplies. I had been meaning to put together a proper emergency kit for months, but kept putting it off. The plan was simple. Wait for someone to drive by, flag them down, ask to use their phone, or get a jump or a ride to somewhere with service. Someone would come by eventually. This was a main highway, not some dirt forest road. People used this route regularly. So I waited. 10 p.m. came and went. No cars. I tried my phone periodically. No service. 10:30. Still nothing. I put on the jacket from the back seat. It helped a little, but I was getting cold. I could see the stars incredibly clearly through the windshield. No light pollution out here. Thousands of them. The Milky Way looked like a smear of white paint across the black. At 10:47, I remember the time because I just checked my phone again. I saw headlights in my rearview mirror, coming from the north, heading south. Finally, I grabbed my flashlight and got out, moved to the shoulder, and waved the light in a slow arc so they'd see me. The headlights got closer. I could hear the engine now. It sounded like a truck, maybe a diesel, but then the headlights passed me. Didn't even slow down. Just blew past doing probably 70, and I caught a glimpse of a white pickup truck in the brief moment it was illuminated by my flashlight. Gone in 3 seconds, Come on, man, I muttered, watching the taillights disappear south. I got back in my car, frustrated now. My phone showed 10:52 p.m. Battery was at 63%. I turned down the screen brightness to conserve it. That's when I first saw the figure. I was looking at my phone when movement in my peripheral vision made me glance up at the passenger side mirror. There was someone standing on the shoulder, maybe 50 yards behind my car, just standing there. I could see them silhouetted against the slightly lighter sky, a person-shaped shadow. My first thought was relief. Another stranded motorist maybe, or someone whose car I hadn't seen. I could ask them for help. I turned in my seat to look back through the rear window. Nothing. The shoulder was empty. I looked back at the mirror. The figure was still there. That's weird, I thought. Angle issue maybe. Some trick of the mirror showing something that wasn't quite where it appeared to be. I opened my door and stood up, looked back down the highway with my flashlight, swept a beam across the shoulder. Empty road, scrub brush, nothing else. I sat back down and checked the mirror again. The figure was gone. Okay, I thought. You're tired. Long day. You're seeing things. Shadows. Brain trying to make patterns out of darkness. I locked the doors again and settled in to keep waiting. 11 p.m. came, then 11:15. No more cars. The temperature was definitely below freezing now. I was shivering, even with the jacket on. I knew if I didn't get help soon, I'd have to make a decision about trying to walk. But walking where? Cuba was 20 miles north. San Ysidro was probably 30 south. Both too far in business shoes in the dark. At 11:23, I checked my mirrors again out of habit. The figure was back, but closer now, maybe 30 yards behind the car. Same position, just standing there on the shoulder. I spun around to look through the rear window. Nothing there. Looked back at the mirror. Still there. Closer. My heart rate kicked up. This wasn't right. I grabbed my flashlight and got out of the car. Pointed the beam directly at where the figure should be. Empty highway. Nothing. Hello? I called out. My voice sounded small in the huge empty dark. Is someone there? Do you need help? No response. Just wine moving through the brush, and the creaking sound of cooling metal from my dead engine. I got back in the car and locked the doors. Checked the mirror immediately. The figure was still there, and now I could see it was holding its arm out. Thumb up, hitchhiker pose. That detail made it worse somehow. Like whatever I was seeing was trying to communicate, trying to signal intent. A hitchhiker on an empty highway in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. I looked away from the mirror, counted to 5, looked back. The figure was gone. Counted to 5 again, looked back. There it was, but now on the driver's side, standing on the opposite shoulder, same distance away, thumb still out. What the hell? I whispered. I turned on my phone flashlight and pointed out the driver's window. Nothing out there. Looked back at the side mirror. Figure still visible in the mirror, but not visible through the window. That's when I decided I was staying in the car no matter what. Doors locked, windows up. Something was very wrong, and every instinct I had was screaming at me not to go outside again. I checked the rearview mirror. The figure was directly behind my car now, maybe 10 feet away. I could see more detail in the mirror. Looked like a man, wearing what seemed like jeans and a jacket. His arm was still out, thumb up, but something about his proportions looked off. His arm seemed too long for his body. I stared at the mirror image. The figure didn't move, just stood there with its thumb out. Then it took a step forward. I saw it in the mirror, one step closer to my car, but I hadn't seen it move, like it had been in one position and then suddenly it was in another position, no transition between. Another step. Now it was at my rear bumper. Couldn't see it through the rear window, only in the mirror. Another step. Now it was alongside the rear passenger door. My breathing was fast and shallow. I was gripping my phone so hard my hand hurt. The figure moved to the rear passenger window, and I lost sight of it in the mirrors. I sat perfectly still, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, no sound at all, except my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I heard a knock on the rear passenger window. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I didn't turn around, didn't look back, just stared straight ahead at the dark highway in front of me. 3 more knocks, harder this time. Go away, I said, my voice shaking. I don't need help, please go away. The knocking stopped. I waited, counting seconds in my head, got to 30, then 45, then a minute. Maybe it was gone. I checked the side mirror, empty. Checked the rear view, nothing behind the car. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Then the figure appeared at my driver's side window, and I almost screamed. It was right there, inches from the glass, face pressed close, and I could see its face now in the faint glow of my phone screen. It looked like my brother, like Trevor. Same face, same features, but Trevor died 8 years ago. Pulmonary embolism. He was 31. I was at his funeral. I watched them lower his casket into the ground. Kyle, I said, and it had Trevor's voice. Perfect replication. Kyle, buddy, it's me. It's Trev. Let me in, man. It's cold out here. My hand was shaking as I raised my phone to shine the light directly at it. In the LED light, I could see the details better. It had Trevor's face, his nose, his eyes, his mouth, but the proportions were slightly off. Eyes a little too far apart, mouth a little too wide, and its hands pressed against the window had fingers that were too long, with nails that curved at the ends like claws filed down to look more human. Come on, Kyle, it said, still in Trevor's voice. Open up. Don't you remember me? It's your big brother, man. We need to talk. You're not Trevor, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Trevor's dead. It smiled, and that's when I saw the teeth. Too many of them. Behind the lips that looked like my brother's lips were too many teeth, crowded together, different sizes. I got better, it said, and then it laughed. And the laugh was wrong. Started as Trevor's laugh, and then shifted into something else, something that sounded like it came from an animal trying to imitate human laughter. I pressed myself against the passenger seat, as far from that window as I could get. Go away. Leave me alone. But Kyle, buddy, I drove all the way out here to see you. Don't you want to catch up? Remember when we used to go camping? Remember the stories we'd tell? It did remember. We did used to go camping up in the Jemez Mountains when we were kids. Our dad would take us. Trevor would always try to scare me with stories about La Llorona and chupacabras. How do you know that? I asked. Because I'm your brother, Kyle. I'm Trev. And I need you to let me in so we can talk. I've missed you, buddy. Missed you so much. Its fingers scraped down the window, those 2 long nails making a sound like chalk on a blackboard. I didn't respond, just sat there shaking, phone clutched in my hand, trying to think of what to do. Kyle, I said again, and now the voice had an edge to it. Kyle, don't be rude. Let me in. We're family. Family doesn't leave family out in the cold. I checked my phone. 11:41 p.m. Still no service. Battery at 58%. The thing at my window pressed its face harder against the glass. I could see its breath fogging the window, which meant it was breathing, or at least doing something that produced condensation. You always were the stubborn one, it said, and now it sounded annoyed, petulant, like a child denied something it wants. Fine, be that way. It pulled back from the window and walked in front of my car, moving through the headlight beams, except my headlights were off. Dead battery. So where was the light coming from? I looked around. There were more figures now. 3 of them, standing in a semicircle around my car, each one illuminated by some sourceless light that let me see them but made no sense. One of them looked like my girlfriend Sarah. Same blonde hair, same build, same jacket she'd worn the last time I saw her. But her movements were wrong. Too fluid, like her joints bent in ways human joints don't. Another one looked like my old college roommate Pete. Haven't seen Pete in 5 years. Last I heard he was living in Oregon. What would he be doing on Highway 550 inches, New Mexico in the middle of the night? The third one, I didn't recognize. Just a generic middle-aged man in a flannel shirt and jeans. They all started moving toward the car. Slow, deliberate steps. The Sarah thing came to the passenger window. The Pete thing went to the rear driver's side. The stranger stayed at the hood, watching me. "Kyle, honey, it's me," the Sarah thing said, and it had her voice perfect. "I was so worried about you. Your phone went to voicemail. I drove out here to find you. Please let me in, baby. It's freezing out here." "Kyle, man, what are you doing?" the Pete thing said from the back. "It's me, Pete. Remember me? We were roommates, dude. Come on, open up. Let's hang out like old times." The stranger said nothing, just stared at me through the windshield with eyes that reflected light like an animal's. I looked at my phone. 11:47. Still no service. I thought about trying to start the car again, but I knew it wouldn't work. Something about these things, I could feel it. They were connected to the car dying. They'd made it die. Or maybe they were drawn to dead cars, to stranded people. Either way, the engine wasn't starting while they were here. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, not really expecting an answer. The Trevor thing, still at the driver's window, tilted its head like a curious dog. "We're not doing anything, Kyle. We're helping. You're stranded. We're here to help. All you have to do is open the door." "What happens if I open the door?" It smiled again, that too many teeth smile. "And we can talk. Catch up. Take you somewhere warm. Get you home safely." "That's what you want, isn't it? To go home?" "I want you to leave." "Can't do that, buddy. We came all this way. It would be rude to leave now." The Sarah thing tried the passenger door handle. Locked. It tried again. Harder. Then it started knocking on the window. The Pete thing did the same on its window. Rhythmic knocking. Getting faster. Getting louder. The stranger at the hood placed both hands on the hood and leaned forward, pressing its face close to the windshield. Its breath fogged the glass. Or something like breath. And I could see now that its mouth was moving, saying something, but no sound was coming out, just lips moving, forming words I couldn't hear. I closed my eyes and tried to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Don't panic. Stay calm. Someone will come. A car will drive by. Help will arrive. The knocking continued. All three windows now. Constant knocking. Tap, 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 tap. Building into a crescendo. Then it stopped. All at once. Complete silence. I opened my eyes. The figures were gone. All of them. The car was dark. The sourceless light was gone. I was alone on an empty highway at night, with a dead car. I checked the time. 11:56 p.m. Checked the mirrors. Nothing. Looked through all the windows. Empty road. Empty desert. Empty sky. Maybe they gave up, I thought. Maybe I passed some kind of test. Maybe they got bored. Then I heard the sound. A low humming, coming from somewhere outside the car. Almost like singing, but not quite. Wordless melody, in a minor key, getting gradually louder. I looked around trying to find the source. The sound was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, growing louder. The melody was almost familiar, like something I'd heard before but couldn't place. Then I realized what it was. It was a song my mom used to sing to us when we were kids. A Spanish lullaby. "Duérmete, mi niño." I hadn't heard it in decades. How did they know that song? The humming stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. Then headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. Real headlights this time, bright and steady, coming from the north. A vehicle approaching. Relief flooded through me. I grabbed my flashlight and opened the door, stepped out onto the shoulder, and waved the light. The vehicle was getting closer. I could hear the engine now. Definitely a truck, big one, maybe a semi. As it got closer, I could see it was indeed a semi, a big 18-wheeler, running lights on, air horn blaring twice, as the driver saw me and started to slow down. I turned back toward my car to grab my phone and saw all four of them standing there. The Trevor thing, the Sarah thing, the Pete thing, and the stranger, just standing between me and my car, silent, watching me. But they were backing away from the approaching truck, moving toward the brush at the edge of the shoulder. The Trevor thing looked at me one last time. "See you around, Kyle," it said in my brother's voice. "Real soon." Then they turned and ran into the darkness on all fours. They just dropped to their hands and feet and ran like animals into the desert, impossibly fast, and were gone. The semi pulled to a stop in front of my car, air brakes hissing. The driver's door opened and a man climbed down. Older guy, 60s maybe, Navajo from the look of him. He had long gray hair pulled back in a ponytail, wore a denim jacket and a turquoise bolo tie. "You alright, son?" he called out. Yeah, I think so. Car died. Phone's got no service." He walked over, looked at me carefully. "You been out here long?" "Couple hours." He nodded slowly, looked past me at the desert where the things had disappeared. "You see anything unusual while you were waiting?" I hesitated. "What do you mean?" "Did anyone approach your vehicle? Anyone try to talk to you?" "How did you know?" He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his jacket pocket, lit one, took a long drag. "This stretch of highway, people break down here sometimes. Some of them report and encounters. People who aren't people. Voices, familiar faces. What are they?" "Depends who you ask. My grandfather would have had a name for them. I don't use that name. Bad luck." He took another drag. "They're old. Been in this area longer than the highway. Maybe longer than the DNA have been here. They watch the roads, look for people alone, stranded, vulnerable. What do they want? Don't know if they want anything. Maybe they're curious. Maybe they're testing. My grandfather said they feed on something. Not flesh, but something else. Fear, maybe. Confusion. The feeling of being lost and alone. They create that feeling, and then they consume it somehow." He flicked ash onto the pavement. "Or maybe that's all just stories. Either way, people who encounter them and stay in their vehicles tend to be fine. People who open their doors or get out and follow them, and those people sometimes don't make it home." I thought about that. They knew things, personal things. Not my brother, not my childhood. Yeah, they're good at that. They read you somehow. Pull information out. Use it against you. He walked over to my car, leaned down to look at the engine. "Pop your hood." I reached in and pulled the hood release. He lifted it and shined a small flashlight inside. After a minute, he said, "Try starting it now." I got in and turned the key. The engine started immediately. All the dash lights came on normal. Everything worked. I got back out. "How did you?" "I didn't do anything. They made it stop. Now they're gone, so it works again." He closed the hood. "You got enough gas to make it to San Ysidro?" "Yeah, 3/4 of a tank." "Good. Follow me there. There's a truck stop. You can call someone from there. Don't stop until we get there. Don't pick up any hitchhikers. Don't stop if you see someone on the side of the road. Just follow my truck and don't stop for any reason. Understand?" "Yeah, okay." "And son, if you see them again in your mirrors, ignore them. Don't look too long. Don't engage. They lose interest if you don't feed them attention." We drove south together, my car following his semi. Took about 40 minutes to reach the truck stop in San Ysidro. I kept checking my mirrors the whole way. Saw the figures a few times, standing on the shoulder as we passed, or running alongside the highway just outside the reach of my headlights. But I followed his advice. Didn't look long. Didn't engage. Just kept my eyes on the road and followed his taillights. At the truck stop, I pulled into the parking lot, and he pulled his rig into a spot nearby. We met at the entrance to the convenience store. Inside was bright and warm and normal. A couple other travelers getting coffee, clerk behind the counter watching TV. The driver bought me a coffee, and we sat at one of the plastic tables near the windows. I called Sarah on the payphone. Yes, they still had a payphone. Told her I was okay, that I'd be home late, but I was safe. She'd been worried. My phone had been going straight to voicemail for hours, apparently. You said people report these encounters, I said to the driver after I hung up. There are other reports. He nodded. New Mexico State Police have files. Incident reports going back decades. Most of them get classified as dehydration, exposure, hallucinations, but some of the officers know better, especially the ones who've worked this area for a long time. Has this happened to you? Twice. Once in 1986, once in 2004. Different highways, but same thing. Car died for no reason. Figures approached, used voices I recognized. I did what my grandfather taught me. Stayed in my vehicle. Didn't engage. Eventually they left. He finished his coffee. You handled it right. Most people do. Instinct tells you to stay safe. Stay inside. Don't trust something that feels wrong. The ones who get hurt are the ones who override their instincts, who open their doors because they want to be polite, or because they feel guilty not helping someone who seems stranded. What happens to those people? Some of them get found, eventually, wandering miles from their cars, confused, dehydrated, missing time, can't remember what happened. Some of them never get found at all. He stood up. I need to get back on the road. You gonna be alright from here? Yeah, thank you. Seriously, thank you for stopping. Out here, we look out for each other. That's how it has to be. He headed toward the door, then turned back. One more thing. They might try again. If you break down out here another time, they remember faces, remember people who got away. Next time, they'll try harder, be more convincing. So, make sure next time doesn't happen. Keep your car maintained. Don't drive these roads alone at night if you can help it. And if you have to, make sure someone knows your route and when to expect you. I nodded. I will. He left and I sat there for another 20 minutes, drinking bad coffee, letting my hands stop shaking. Eventually I got back in my car and drove home. Made it to Albuquerque around 2:30 in the morning. Sarah was still awake, waiting for me. I told her everything. She believed me, or at least she didn't tell me I was crazy. The next day I took my car to a mechanic, had him check everything. They couldn't find anything wrong. All systems normal. No reason it should have died the way it did. The mechanic said maybe it was a temporary electrical fault that resolved itself. I didn't argue. I filed a report with the state police. They took my statement. The officer didn't seem surprised. Asked specific questions about what the figures looked like, what they said, whether I opened my doors. Told me I did the right thing. Said they'd add it to the file for that stretch of highway. Gave me an incident number, 3972-24-0643. I looked up that file number later. Found out there have been 17 reported incidents on Highway 550 between Cuba and San Isidro since 1973. 17 people who broke down and reported encounters with figures that used familiar faces and voices. All of them survived because they stayed in their vehicles. There were also 6 missing persons cases along that same stretch during that time period. People whose cars were found abandoned, doors open, no sign of the driver. 3 of them were eventually found alive, wandering in the desert, with no memory of what happened. 3 were never found. I don't drive that highway at night anymore. Changed my sales route to go around, even though it adds an hour to the trip. It's worth it. When I do have to drive through that area, I do it during the day, and I make sure my car's in perfect condition. Full tank, fresh oil change, good battery, everything checked. And I tell Sarah exactly what time I'll be where. If I'm late, she knows to call the police immediately. The driver was right. They tried again. About 3 months later, I had another breakdown, but this time it was on I-40 near Grants. Different road, but still remote, still night. My car just died the same way. All the dash lights, and nothing. This time I knew what to expect. Locked the doors immediately. Didn't look in the mirrors too long. When the figures appeared, and they did, all four of them again, plus a new one that looked like my father, I ignored them, kept my eyes forward, phone in my hand even though there was no service, and waited. They tried harder this time, surrounded the car, knocked on every window, screamed in voices I knew, begging me to let them in, told me my mom was hurt, Sarah was hurt, there was an emergency, I needed to come with them right now. But I remembered what the truck driver said. They feed on attention, on engagement, on the fear and confusion. So I didn't give it to him. I just sat there, breathing slowly, counting backwards from 100. And after about 45 minutes, a state police cruiser pulled up. The thing scattered before he even stopped his car, disappeared into the desert like they'd never been there. The officer was the same one who'd taken my report 3 months earlier. He recognized my name from the incident number. He didn't ask many questions, just had me try starting the car, which worked immediately, and then followed me to the nearest town to make sure I got there safely. You're the second one this month, he told me before he left. They're getting more active. Don't know why. Maybe it's the time of year, maybe it's something else. But be careful out there, and maybe consider a different line of work if it keeps requiring you to drive these roads alone. I did consider it, looked into other jobs, other territories, but I'm still in medical sales, still covering northwest New Mexico. Just more careful now. Travel during the day when possible. Never ignore that feeling when something's wrong. And I keep a better emergency kit now. Blankets, water, food, a battery jumper pack. If my car dies again, I can at least stay warm while I wait for help. I've talked to other people since then. Other travelers who've had experiences on that highway and others like it. There's kind of a informal network of people who know. We share information, which roads to avoid at night, which stretches have the most reports, what to do if you break down, and the advice is always the same. If you break down on remote highways at night and people approach on foot from nowhere, people who know things they shouldn't know, who look like people you know but move wrong, stay in your vehicle with doors locked. Don't engage with them. Don't look at them too long. Don't open your doors no matter what they say, no matter how convincing they are. Wait for help that arrives in a vehicle with working headlights. Verify identity before you open your door. These things, whatever they are, they follow old rules. They can't force their way into a locked car. They can't make you open the door. You have to choose to do it. And they can't seem to come near running vehicles with bright lights. Whether it's the light itself or the presence of another person or something else, I don't know. But they stay away from it. The truck driver told me they're old. Older than the highways. Older than the towns. Maybe older than people have been in this area at all. They've always been here. Watching the roads. Watching for opportunities. The highways just made it easier for them. More people passing through. More people breaking down. More people alone and vulnerable in the dark. I think about my brother sometimes. About Trevor. About how they knew to use his face. How they knew about our camping trips. About the stories he used to tell. I don't know how they access that information. Whether they pull it from my head somehow. Or whether they're actually, channeling the dead? I don't know. Don't want to know really. What I do know is that Highway 550 between Cuba and Bloomfield has one of the highest rates of vehicle breakdowns in New Mexico. Also one of the highest rates of reported encounters. Make of that what you will. If you drive through there, especially at night, especially alone, be careful. Keep your car maintained. Keep your phone charged. Tell someone where you're going and when you'll arrive. And if your car dies for no reason in the middle of nowhere and people start appearing who look like people you know, trust your instincts. Lock your doors. Stay inside. Wait for real help. And if something tells you it's your brother, your friend, your family member. If it smiles with too many teeth and its fingers are too long and its voice is just slightly wrong, don't believe it, because whatever it is, it's not them. It's never them. It's something else. Something that's been waiting in the dark for a long, long time. And it's very patient, and it's very, very good at pretending to be human. These encounters are more common than you'd think. Remote highways across New Mexico have dozens of reports just like this one, filed and documented but rarely publicized. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. These warnings need to reach the people who drive these roads regularly. Drop a comment if you've experienced something similar or if you know these highways. I've got 3 more accounts from different areas of New Mexico that need to be heard. Subscribe so you don't miss them, because the more people who know what to watch for, the safer we all are out there. Stay vigilant and stay in your vehicle. I was looking at myself from 30 feet away. Same jacket, same backpack, same face, waving at me to follow him deeper into the slot canyon. But I could feel my own arm at my side, not waving. And when I raised my hand to wave back, the thing wearing my face stopped moving entirely and just stared at me with my own eyes while its smile spread too wide across my stolen features. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain how I ended up in that situation. My name's Austin. I'm 28 years old, work as a software engineer in Santa Fe. I've been hiking the trails around New Mexico for about 6 years now. I know what I'm doing out there, or at least I thought I did. I carry the right gear. I check weather forecasts. I tell people where I'm going and when I'll be back. I'm not some tourist who wanders off the trail in flip-flops with no water. Tent Rocks is one of my regular spots. It's about 40 minutes southwest of Santa Fe, near Coche de Pueblo. The official name is Cacha Catue Tent Rocks National Monument. It's got these incredible cone-shaped rock formations carved by volcanic eruptions and erosion over millions of years. The main trail goes through a slot canyon that gets narrow in places, like 3 feet wide, with walls towering 100 feet above you. It's stunning. Otherworldly, almost. I had hiked it probably 15 times before that day in early December of 2024. Always enjoyed it. Never had a single issue. That Saturday I woke up early, around 5:30 a.m. I wanted to get to the trailhead by 7, hike during the cooler morning hours, and be back to my car by noon. Standard plan. I packed my usual day hiking gear, 3 liters of water, energy bars, first aid kit, compass, paper map of the monument, headlamp, lighter, emergency blanket, and my phone fully charged with downloaded offline maps. I wore a bright blue rain jacket even though the forecast was clear. Always prepare for weather changes in the desert. Had my good hiking boots, the Salomons I'd broken in over 2 years. Comfortable, reliable. Everything about this hike was routine. I got to the monument parking area at 7:04 a.m. There were only 2 other cars there. Early on a Saturday in December. Most people were probably sleeping in or doing Christmas shopping. Perfect. I prefer hiking when the trails are less crowded, more peaceful. I signed in at the trailhead register, writing my name, time, and expected return. Austin Herrera, 7:15 a.m. Estimated return noon. Standard procedure. Then I started up the trail. The first section's pretty easy, mostly flat, winding through juniper and pinon trees with those tent rock formations visible in the distance. The morning light was beautiful, low-angle sun making white and rust-colored rocks glow. Temperature was probably mid-30s, cold enough that I could see my breath, but I warmed up quickly once I started moving. About 20 minutes in, I reached the slot canyon entrance. This is where the trail gets interesting. The canyon walls close in and you're walking on sandy wash between these towering cliffs of compressed volcanic ash. In some places you can reach out and touch both walls at the same time. It's quiet in there. Sound gets absorbed by the rock in strange ways. Your footsteps sound muted. Voices don't carry far. I'd been in the canyon for maybe 10 minutes when I saw the first cairn. A cairn is just a stack of rocks. Hikers and trail crews use them to mark routes in areas where the path isn't obvious. Official park cairns are usually pretty distinctive, built in specific ways. This one was about 3 feet tall, 5 rocks stacked carefully, sitting right where the canyon forked into 2 passages. I stopped and pulled out my map. According to the map, the canyon didn't fork here. The trail just continued straight through. But I was looking at 2 clearly different passages, one continuing straight, one branching left, and the cairn was positioned pointing toward the left passage. I looked at the cairn more carefully. The rocks were fresh, no lichen, no weathering, like someone had built it recently. Maybe the Park Service added a new trail section. They do update routes sometimes for erosion control or to reduce traffic on overused paths. The left passage looked interesting, narrower than the main trail, walls closer together, more dramatic, and there was another cairn visible about 50 feet in, marking the way. I hesitated. My rule on hikes is stick to the marked trail, don't go wandering off into unmapped territory. But this wasn't unmarked. Someone had clearly marked it with cairns, and I could see the trail continuing ahead, sandy wash showing footprints from other hikers. I decided to check it out. If it got sketchy or confusing, I'd just turn back. Simple. I followed the left passage. The canyon walls got taller here, maybe 120 feet, and the gap between them narrowed to about 4 feet across. The temperature dropped noticeably, less sunlight reaching down this deep. I could see my breath more clearly now. There was another cairn ahead, then another beyond that, each one carefully placed, marking a clear route. The footprints in the sand continued, multiple sets, different tread patterns. Other hikers had definitely come this way. After about 15 minutes of walking, the passage opened into a wider section, maybe 20 feet across. A small alcove was carved into the left wall, probably 10 feet deep, and there was another hiker sitting there, back against the rock, resting. "Hey," I called out, my voice echoing slightly off the walls. The hiker looked up. Man, probably late 40s, wearing a brown jacket and cargo pants, hiking boots, baseball cap. He had a gray beard and looked tired. "Morning," he said. His voice was hoarse. "This trail's not on my map," I said, approaching him. "Is this a new route?" He looked at me for a long moment, then shook his head slowly. "No, it's not new, and it's not a trail." "What do you mean?" "There are cairns marking it. Those cairns aren't from the Park Service." He stood up, wincing like his legs hurt. "You need to turn around. Go back the way you came. Don't follow the cairns any further." "Why? What's wrong with them?" "They move," he said quietly. "The cairns. They move when you're not looking. They lead you deeper. And once you're deep enough, you don't come back out the same." I stared at him. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" He laughed, but it was a dry, humorless sound. "I'm fine. Better than you'll be if you keep going. Turn around." "How long have you been out here?" "I don't know anymore. 2 days maybe? 3. I keep trying to get out, but the trail keeps changing." He looked past me, back toward the passage I'd come through. "The exit's back that way." "Probably. Maybe. If they let you leave." "Who's they?" He didn't answer. Just walked past me, heading toward the passage, moving with a strange, stiff gait like his knees didn't bend right. I watched him go, confused and a little concerned. Maybe he was dehydrated, disoriented. I should probably report this to a ranger when I got back. I looked ahead. The canyon continued, another cairn visible in the distance. Maybe I should turn back like he said. This was getting weird. But then I thought, if he was confused and lost for days, maybe I should map this section myself so I could guide search and rescue if they needed to find him. Take some photos, mark coordinates, be helpful. So I continued forward. That was my first mistake. The canyon twisted and turned. More cairns appeared, each one marking the way. The passages got narrower, then wider, then narrow again. I kept checking my compass and trying to track my direction, but it was difficult in the winding canyon. Generally, I seemed to be heading west, then northwest, but the turns were disorienting. After another 20 minutes, I came to a section where water pooled on the canyon floor, probably from recent rain, though it hadn't rained in over a week according to the forecast. The pool was about 15 feet across, maybe 6 inches deep, clear water reflecting the sky above. I walked around it carefully, not wanting to get my boots wet in 30-degree weather. As I passed, I glanced at my reflection in the still water. Something was wrong with it. My reflection was wearing a red jacket. I was wearing a blue jacket. I stopped, looked down at myself. Blue jacket, definitely blue. Looked back at the reflection. Red jacket. I blinked, looked away, looked back. Now the reflection showed blue, matching what I was actually wearing. Trick of the light, I told myself. Reflection of the rust-colored canyon walls making the blue look red. Makes sense. But my hands were shaking as I continued walking. The cairns kept appearing, more frequently now. Every 30 feet or so, another stack of rocks. But something about them was bothering me. They looked too similar. Exact same rocks, exact same configuration, like they'd been copied and pasted rather than individually built. I came to another fork in the canyon. 3 passages this time, all branching different directions, and there were 3 cairns, one pointing down each passage. That's not how trail markers work. They're supposed to guide you on a single route, not offer multiple choices, unless this was some kind of choose-your-own-adventure trail, which made no sense. I pulled out my phone to check my GPS position. No signal, as expected, but the downloaded map should still show my location. I opened the app and waited for it to load. The map showed my position as inside the Slot Canyon, but about half a mile west of where any map trails went. I was off the official route. The map showed solid terrain where I was supposedly standing. No canyons, no passages, nothing. Okay, I said out loud to myself. Time to head back. I turned around to retrace my steps. The passage I'd just come through looked different somehow. The walls seemed closer together, and there was a cairn blocking the path, sitting right in the middle where I'd just walked through moments ago. I didn't remember seeing a cairn there. I walked up to it. 5 rocks, stacked carefully. I pushed it over, scattered the rocks, and continued past it. After about 10 minutes of walking, I should have reached the water pool I passed earlier. Instead, I came to a campsite, an abandoned campsite, small tent, still standing, green nylon, backpack leaning against a canyon wall, camping stove, fuel canister, the setup for someone who'd spent at least one night here. I approached carefully. Hello? Anyone here? No response. The tent flap was open. I looked inside. Empty sleeping bag, some clothes scattered around. I reached in and pulled out one of the items. It was a blue rain jacket, same brand as mine, same model, same size. I looked down at the jacket I was wearing. Same jacket, identical. What the hell? I whispered. I checked the pockets of the jacket I'd found. There was a receipt in one of them, dated 2 weeks ago, from a outdoor store in Santa Fe. I pulled out my own wallet and found my receipt from when I bought my jacket. Same store, same date, same timestamp, same transaction. I was holding my own jacket, the jacket I was currently wearing, both at the same time. I dropped it and backed away from the campsite, heart pounding. This wasn't possible. This didn't make sense. I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around and saw myself walking toward me. Same face, same build, same clothes, same everything. It was me, walking out of the canyon passage, hands in pockets, casual stride. Hey, it said in my voice, I was looking for you. I couldn't speak, just stood there staring. It's okay, it continued. I know this is confusing, but I can explain. There's a shortcut up ahead. An easier way out. Follow me. It turned and started walking back the way it had come. Then it stopped and looked back at me. Come on, it said. We don't have much time before it gets dark. I looked at my watch. 7:52 a.m. It had been less than an hour since I'd started hiking. Nowhere near dark. What are you? I asked. It smiled. My smile. But wider than I'd ever smiled. I'm you. Obviously. Now, come on. This way. It started walking again. Deeper into the canyon. I didn't follow. Instead, I ran. Turned and ran back toward where I thought the exit was. My boots pounded on the sand. Breath loud in my ears. Heart racing. The canyon walls blurred past me. I turned a corner and nearly collided with another hiker. It was the man with the gray beard, the one who'd warned me earlier. You should have listened, he said, but his voice was different now, higher pitched. Wrong. I looked at his eyes. They were reflective, catching the light like an animal's eyes. I backed away. He didn't follow, just watched me go with those wrong eyes and a slight smile. I kept running, took another turn, another passage, following what I hoped was the way out. But the canyon kept branching, forking, offering choices, and every intersection had cairns, multiple cairns, too many cairns. I came to a stop in a wider section, breathing hard, trying to orient myself with the compass. North was. I turned. North should be that way. So east was. But the compass needle was spinning slowly, not settling on any direction, just rotating in lazy circles. I pulled out my phone again. The GPS was showing my position, jumping around erratically, appearing in different locations every few seconds. One moment it showed me near the parking lot. Next moment a mile away. Next moment somewhere that wasn't even on the map. Austin, my own voice calling my name from somewhere above. I looked up. There was someone standing on the canyon rim, 100 feet up, silhouetted against the sky. Same build as me, same posture. Austin, up here. There's a way up. Climb the wall on your left. I'll help you out. I looked at the wall on my left. There was no way to climb it. Sheer vertical face, smooth volcanic ash, no handholds, nothing. Austin, another voice, this one behind me. I turned, another me, standing in the passage, waving. This way, I found the exit. Austin, a third voice, from the right, another one. They were surrounding me, multiple versions of myself, all calling my name, all trying to lead me in different directions. I closed my eyes and covered my ears. This wasn't real. This was dehydration, altitude sickness, something. I just needed to stay calm and think. When I opened my eyes, they were closer. All of them, standing in a semicircle about 15 feet away. 5 of them, all me, all wearing slight variations of my clothes. One in the blue jacket, one in the red jacket I'd seen in the reflection, one in a green jacket I didn't own, one in just a t-shirt despite the cold, one in a jacket that looked burnt, scorched black on one side. Which one of us is real? The one in the blue jacket asked. Which one are you going to follow? Asked the one in green. Choose wrong, and you'll end up like the others, said the one in the burnt jacket. What others? I asked. They all turned in unison and pointed deeper into the canyon. I followed their gesture and saw what I hadn't noticed before. Further back in the passage, partially hidden by shadows and rock formations, there were shapes, human-shaped figures, sitting or standing against the walls, motionless. They chose wrong, the one in the t-shirt said. They followed the cairns too far. Now they stay here. How do I get out? My voice was shaking. Follow me, said the blue jacket one. No. Follow me, said the red jacket one. They're lying, said the burnt jacket one. I'll show you the real way. I backed away from all of them, pressing myself against the canyon wall. They started moving toward me, all taking slow, synchronized steps, like they were connected somehow, all controlled by the same intelligence. The one in the blue jacket spoke again. "We can be you, Austin. We've been practicing. We know everything about you. Your apartment address. Your cat's name is Luna. Your ex-girlfriend was named Miranda. You broke up 7 months ago because you worked too much. You're afraid of heights, but you love hiking. You have a scar on your left knee from when you fell off your bike when you were 11. All of that was true. Every detail. We can take your place." The red jacket one continued. "Go to your job. Live in your apartment. Your coworkers wouldn't know the difference. Your family wouldn't know. We're better at being you than you are. We just need you to stay here." The green jacket one said, "Stay with the others. It's peaceful here. No stress, no deadlines, no disappointments. Just quiet. Forever." They were within 10 feet now. I could see their faces more clearly. They looked like me, but the features were slightly off. Eyes too far apart on one, mouth too wide on another, ears at slightly different heights on a third, like they'd tried to copy me from memory and gotten the details almost right, but not quite. That's when I heard it. A whistle. 3 sharp blasts. The universal signal for distress response, coming from somewhere back toward the main trail. All 5 of them stopped moving. Their heads turned toward the sound in unison. "Help!" I screamed. "I'm here. I need help." "Quiet," the burnt jacket one hissed, but I screamed again. "Help! I'm in the side canyon. Help!" Another whistle. 3 blasts. Closer now. Then a voice, distant but clear. "This is Park Ranger Sullivan. If you can hear me, stay where you are and keep making noise. I'm following your voice." The 5 mez looked at each other, then back at me. The one in the blue jacket smiled, that too-wide smile. "Next time," it said. Then they all turned and ran. Not away, but at the canyon wall. And they didn't stop when they reached it. They ran into the wall, through the wall, and vanished like they'd never been solid to begin with. Just disappeared into the rock itself. I stood there shaking, staring at the wall where they'd vanished. "Keep making noise," the ranger's voice called, closer now. "I'm here," I shouted. "I'm here." 2 minutes later, a woman in a park ranger uniform appeared around a bend in the canyon. She was in her 40s, athletic build, carrying a radio and a first aid pack. She saw me and immediately approached. "Are you injured?" she asked, professional and calm. No, I'm okay. I got lost. I followed some cairns and got turned around." She looked past me at the canyon, then pulled out her radio. "Sullivan to base. Found the missing hiker. He's uninjured. We're in the Slot Canyon West section. I'm bringing him out now. Over." A crackling response. "Copy that. Good work." She looked back at me. "How long have you been in here?" I checked my watch. 8:26 a.m. About an hour. Maybe a little more. She nodded. "Felt longer, didn't it?" "Yeah, a lot longer. They usually do. Come on, let's get you back to the main trail. Stay close to me." I followed her back through the canyon passages. She walked confidently, not following cairns, but instead following subtle signs I couldn't see. Scratches on rocks, patterns in the sand, things only someone with years of experience would recognize. And as we walked, she talked. "You said you followed cairns that weren't on your map?" "Yes, they were marking a side passage. I thought it was a new trail." "Did you build any cairns yourself?" "No. I knocked one over though. It was blocking the path." She stopped walking and turned to look at me sharply. "You knocked one over?" "Yeah. It was in my way." "Don't do that. Ever. Not in this canyon. If you disturb them, they react. Build more, lead you deeper." "What are they?" "The cairns." "Who builds them?" She resumed walking. "That's complicated. The Pueblo elders say this area has always been active. Before it was a national monument, before Spanish settlers came through, even before the ancestral Puebloans built here. The rock formations, the way the canyons twist, the acoustics. Something about this place creates patterns, loops, confusions. I saw things, people who weren't real. I believe you. Most hikers who get lost in the side passages report similar encounters. Some say they see themselves, others see people they know. Some see strangers who give them directions that lead nowhere. She glanced back at me. The cairns aren't built by people, or if they are, they're not built by people anymore. They appear, they multiply, they change position. We've tried removing them, but they come back. Why doesn't the park close this area? The main trail is safe. Thousands of people hike it every year without incident. It's only when people follow the unmarked side passages that problems happen. And we can't close the whole monument just because some people ignore the trail markers. She paused at an intersection, looked both ways, then chose the right passage. We've put up signs, warning signs, stay on marked trails, but some people don't listen. They see cairns and assume they're official. We walked in silence for a few minutes. The canyon started looking familiar again. I recognized formations I'd seen earlier. The walls got wider. More sunlight reached the floor. The people I saw, I said. The copies of me. They said there were others. People who stayed in the canyons. She didn't respond immediately. When she did, her voice was quieter. We find remains sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. Hikers who went missing years ago, usually in the deep side passages, sitting against walls, like they just stopped, gave up, or chose to stay. She looked back at me again. You're lucky I found you when I did. How did you know I was lost? The couple who were parked next to you came back to their car around 8:15. They saw your car still there, looked at the trailhead register, saw you'd signed in over an hour ago but hadn't signed out. They know this area. They've hiked it dozens of times. They know an hour in means you should be heading back by then, especially solo. So, they reported it just to be safe. I was already on site doing morning rounds, so I came looking. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. Just doing my job. She smiled slightly. But you're welcome. You did the right thing by staying put and making noise when you heard my whistle. We emerged from the slot canyon into the open area near the trailhead. The sun was bright and warm. The air temperature had risen into the 40s, and everything looked normal and safe and real. My car was where I'd left it. I checked my watch again. 8:51 a.m. Total time elapsed since I'd started hiking. Less than 2 hours. But it had felt like much longer. Like I'd been in those canyons for days. The ranger walked me to the trailhead register. Sign out, please. I wrote my exit time, 8:51 a.m. My hand was still shaking. I need to file a report, she said. Standard procedure for lost hiker incidents. It'll take about 20 minutes. You feel up to giving me details? Yeah, of course. We sat at a picnic table near the parking area. She pulled out a tablet and started asking questions. Location where I left the main trail. Description of the side passages. Number of cairns. Description of what I saw. She took notes on everything, her expression remaining neutral and professional. When I described the copies of myself, she stopped typing and looked at me. How many did you see? 5. All at once, at the end. She nodded and made a note. That's a high number. Most people report 1 or 2. 5 suggests you were pretty deep in. What does that mean? The further from the main trail you get, the stronger the effect. More manifestations, more disorientation, more convincing. She resumed typing. You're lucky you didn't follow them when they tried to lead you deeper. They said they wanted to take my place, live my life. They always say something like that. Different variations, same basic message. The goal is to keep you there, make you stay. We don't fully understand why. She finished the report and had me sign it electronically. Then she pulled a business card from her pocket and handed it to me. If you experience any unusual symptoms over the next few days, disorientation, time distortions, seeing things that aren't there, call this number. We have a protocol. This has happened before, often enough that we have a protocol. Yes, most people are fine. Some people, it takes them a while to readjust, to feel fully present again. I drove home to Santa Fe in a daze, kept checking my mirrors, expecting to see myself in the back seat. When I got to my apartment, my cat Luna greeted me at the door like normal. Everything was exactly as I had left it, but it felt different somehow, like I was seeing it through a thin film, like there was a separation between me and reality that hadn't been there before. I called my mom that evening, talked to her for an hour about nothing important, just needed to hear her voice, confirmed she was real. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine, just a long day. Over the next week, I did some research, found incident reports from Tent Rocks going back to the early 2000s when it first became a national monument. Reports of hikers getting lost inside canyons, reports of cairns appearing overnight, reports of people seeing doppelgangers, hearing voices, experiencing time distortions. In 2008, a man named Roger Tafoya went missing in the Slot Canyon. Search teams looked for 5 days. They found him on day 6, sitting in a side passage about a mile off the main trail. He was alive but unresponsive, staring at the canyon wall. They had to physically carry him out. He recovered eventually, but he said he'd only been sitting there for an hour. To him, it had been an hour. To everyone else, it had been almost a week. In 2014, a woman named Jessica Chen reported following cairns into a side passage and seeing her deceased husband. He led her deeper and deeper, promising to show her where he'd been. She finally turned back when she heard another hiker calling for help. Except, when she got back to the main trail, there was no other hiker. No one else had been in the canyon that day. But the voice had saved her. The reports went on, dozens of them, all similar, all describing the same phenomenon. Cairns that shouldn't exist, passages that aren't on maps, encounters with things that look human but aren't. I haven't been back to Tent Rocks. Don't think I ever will. I still hike, but I'm more careful now. Stick to busy trails. Never go alone. And I never, ever follow cairns that aren't on my map. 2 months after my experience, I ran into Ranger Sullivan at a coffee shop in Santa Fe. She recognized me immediately. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Okay, better. Still processing it, I guess." She nodded. "That's normal. Most people take a few months to fully integrate the experience. Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you know what they are? The things in the canyon?" She was quiet for a moment, considering her answer. "Honestly, no. Not really. The Pueblo elders have explanations, but they don't share them with outsiders. Some researchers think it's a combination of factors. The geology, the way sound echoes, maybe even magnetic anomalies that affect brain function. Could be mass hallucination, could be something else entirely." "Do you believe it's hallucination?" "I've worked at that monument for 12 years. I've seen too much to dismiss it as just hallucination. Whatever it is, it's real enough. Real enough to get people lost. Real enough to make people disappear. Real enough that we have protocols and warning signs and regular patrols." "The copies of me," I said. "They knew things. Personal things." "How?" "That's the part that bothers me most," she admitted. "Because if it's just magnetic fields or acoustics or geology, those things shouldn't be able to access your memories, shouldn't be able to know details about your life. So either there's something we don't understand about how the brain works in those conditions, or there's something else going on. Something that can read you, copy you, use your own information against you." She finished her coffee and stood up to leave. "My advice, don't try to understand it. Don't try to rationalize it. Just accept that there are places where the rules are different. where reality gets thin, and stay away from those places. What if it follows me? What if I start seeing them outside the canyon? Has that happened? No, not yet. Then you're probably fine. In 12 years, I've never heard of someone being followed once they left the monument boundaries. Whatever it is, it stays in the canyons. It's tied to that place. She picked up her bag, but if it does happen, if you start seeing things outside the monument, to call me immediately. We'll figure it out. She left, and I sat there with my own coffee, thinking about what she'd said, about places where reality gets thin, about things that can copy you, learn you, become you. I still think about those 5 versions of myself sometimes. Wonder where they went when they disappeared into the canyon wall. Wonder if they're still there, waiting, learning, getting better at being me. And I think about the others she mentioned, the remains they find sometimes in the deep passages, people who chose to stay, or who got so lost they couldn't find their way back, or who followed the wrong cairn down the wrong path and ended up somewhere they couldn't return from. Here's what I learned, and what I'll tell anyone who'll listen. On desert canyon hikes, if you find trail markers that aren't on your map, cairns, arrows, blazes, anything that's marking a route your official trail guide doesn't show, don't follow them. They're not placed by rangers, they're not official, and they don't lead anywhere you want to go. Stick to the marked trails. Use your map and compass. Don't trust formations that appear overnight or change position when you're not looking. And if you see yourself on the trail, if you encounter someone who looks like you, sounds like you, knows things only you should know, run the other direction. Don't listen to what it says. Don't follow where it leads. Because whatever it is, it's not you. It's never you. It's something else wearing your face, using your voice, trying to take your place. And if you get lost, despite all precautions, if you find yourself in passages that aren't on any map, surrounded by cairns that multiply and change, make noise, blow a whistle if you have one, scream if you don't, wait for real help, help that arrives with radios and official gear and voices that sound right. Don't follow the copies. Don't trust the cairns. Don't believe the shortcuts. Stay on the marked trail. Stay in reality. Because there are places, thin places, where reality bends and breaks and tries to keep you forever. Tent Rocks is one of those places, and I'm lucky I found my way out. If you hike in New Mexico or anywhere with remote slot canyons, this information could save your life. Hit that like button so other hikers see this warning. Drop a comment if you've experienced similar phenomena on desert trails. I know I'm not the only one. Subscribe because I have 2 more stories from New Mexico, both from people who encountered things in places where reality doesn't work quite right. The more we share these experiences, the more people we can keep safe. Stay aware out there, and stay on the marked trails. The woman pumping gas 3 islands over had been standing in the exact same position for 20 minutes, hand on the nozzle, head tilted at that same unnatural angle, staring at me without blinking, and her car's gas tank was on the other side of the vehicle, and she was pumping into empty air. My name is Ryan. I'm 32 years old, work as a long-haul trucker based out of Albuquerque. I've been doing overnight routes across New Mexico for about 7 years now. I know every truck stop, every rest area, every 24-hour gas station between here and the Texas border. I've driven through every kind of weather, every time of night, seen plenty of weird stuff on the road. Drunk drivers, road rage incidents, animals crossing highways, the occasional breakdown in the middle of nowhere. But nothing prepared me for what happened at that gas station outside of Gallup on the night of January 14th, 2025. I was hauling a load of auto parts from Albuquerque to Flagstaff, Arizona, a standard route I'd done probably 50 times. I had left around 7 p.m., planning to make it to Flagstaff by 3 or 4 in the morning, and get a few hours of sleep at a truck stop there, then head back. Easy run. Around 10:30 p.m., I was coming up on Gallup on Interstate 40. My fuel was at a quarter tank. Not critical yet, but I liked to fill up when I had the chance, rather than risk running low in a stretch with no stations. There's a 24-hour independent station about 5 miles east of Gallup, right off exit 26. Small place, just 4 islands. Little convenience store, usually empty at night. I'd stopped there dozens of times before. I took the exit and pulled into the station. Only one other vehicle there, a silver Honda sedan, parked at Island 3. The overhead lights were on, that harsh fluorescent glow that makes everything look washed out and slightly unreal. The convenience store windows were lit up, and I could see the clerk inside behind the counter looking at his phone. I pulled my rig up to Island 1, the pump that could accommodate trucks, got out, stretched my legs, grabbed my wallet, and swiped my company card at the pump. The night air was cold, probably low 20s, and I could see my breath. Clear sky though, stars everywhere, no clouds. While the pump ran, I looked around. The Honda at Island 3 had someone standing next to it. A woman, maybe late 30s, wearing jeans and a gray hoodie, standing with her back to me. She had one hand on the gas nozzle, filling her tank, or that's what I thought she was doing. I watched her while my tank filled, just something to look at, while waiting. She didn't move, just stood there, perfectly still, hand on the nozzle. After about 2 minutes, I thought that was odd. Usually people shift their weight, check their phones, look around. She did none of that, just stood frozen in place. My pump clicked off, 42 gallons, tank full. I hung up the nozzle and was about to head inside to grab a coffee when I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The woman's car, the gas tank, was on the driver's side. She was standing on the passenger side. The nozzle in her hand was pointing at the side of the car, not inserted into any tank. She was pumping gas into empty air. I stared for a few seconds, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Maybe she was confused. Maybe she drove a different car usually, but that didn't explain why she'd just stand there motionless for several minutes. "Hey," I called out. "You okay over there?" She didn't respond. Didn't turn around, didn't move at all. I walked closer, crossing from Island 1 to Island 3. As I got closer, I could see her more clearly under the lights. The hoodie was too big for her, hanging loose. Her hair was long and dark, hanging down her back. Her hand gripped a gas nozzle, but her arm was extended at a weird angle, like her elbow was hyperextended, bent slightly the wrong way. "Ma'am, you need help?" Still nothing. I was about 10 feet away now, close enough to see that her hand on the nozzle was wrong too. The fingers were too long, wrapped around the handle in a way that looked painful. And her nails, even from 10 feet away, I could see they were thick and yellowed, more like claws than fingernails. I stopped walking. Every instinct told me not to get closer. Then she spoke without turning around. "You have the time." Her voice was flat, motionless, like someone reading words off a card. I checked my watch. 10:43. "Thank you." She still didn't move. Still didn't turn around. Just stood there, pumping gas that wasn't going anywhere, staring at the side of her car. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on her. Something was very, very wrong. I got back to my truck, climbed into the cab, and locked the doors. Then I grabbed my phone and looked at the gas station. The woman was still in the same position, hadn't moved an inch. I called 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" "I'm at the gas station off exit 26 on I-40, about 5 miles east of Gallup. There's a woman here acting very strange. She's been standing motionless at the gas pump for at least 5 minutes, and she's pumping gas into the wrong side of her car. I think she might be having a medical emergency or something." "Is she responsive?" "She answered when I asked her the time, but she won't turn around or move, and her hands don't look right." I think something's wrong with her. Okay, sir. I'm dispatching an officer to your location. Can you stay on the line? Yeah. Yeah, I'll stay on the line. I watched the woman through my windshield. She still hadn't moved. The gas pump was still running. I could hear the mechanical clicking from where I sat. She'd been pumping for at least 7 or 8 minutes now. Had to be way over capacity for that sedan's tank, even if the nozzle was actually in the tank. Then she turned her head, not her body, just her head, rotated it slowly to look at me, and kept rotating past the point where a human neck should stop. Her head turned 180 degrees, facing backward, while her body still faced the car. I could see her face, now, under the hoodie. It looked human at first glance, but wrong. The features were slightly off, like a sculpture made by someone who'd only seen humans in photographs. Eyes too far apart, nose too small, mouth too wide, and her skin had a grayish tint under the fluorescent lights, stretched tight over the bones. She smiled at me. Too many teeth. Way too many teeth. Sir? Sir, are you still there? 911. One operator's voice brought me back. Yeah, I'm here. She just turned her head all the way around, like an owl. That's not... People can't do that. An officer is approximately 8 minutes away. Can you describe what you're seeing? Her neck rotated 180 degrees. Her body is facing away from me, but her face is looking right at me. And her face, it doesn't look right. The proportions are wrong. Sir, stay in your vehicle with the doors locked. Do not approach her. I'm not going anywhere near her. The woman's head rotated back to its original position, facing the car again. Then her whole body turned to face me. Smooth, mechanical motion, like she was on a turntable. She started walking toward my truck. Her gait was wrong. Her legs moved too stiffly, bending at angles that didn't match human joints. Each step landed with the same exact weight, the same rhythm, like a clockwork mechanism. No natural variation in her stride. She's coming toward me, I said into the phone. She's walking, but it's not how people walk. Stay in your vehicle. Keep your doors locked. Help is on the way. She reached my truck and stood next to the driver's side door, looking up at me through the window. Up close I could see more details. Her eyes were a solid black, no whites visible, no pupils, just black orbs that reflected the gas station lights. Her skin wasn't just grayish, it had a texture like leather, with fine cracks running through it. She raised her hand and knocked on my window. 3 slow knocks. Her 2 long fingers, with their yellowed claw nails, tapped against the glass. Ryan, she said in that flat, emotionless voice. Let me in, Ryan. I hadn't told her my name. I hadn't told anyone my name at this gas station. How do you know my name? I asked through the glass. I know everything about you, Ryan. I know where you live. I know where you work. I know your route tonight. I know you're going to Flagstaff. I know you have a daughter named Emma. She's 7 years old, lives with her mother in Santa Fe. You see her every other weekend. Every word was true. Every single detail. What are you? I whispered. I'm your friend, Ryan. I'm here to help you. You look tired. Have you been sleeping enough? You should rest. Why don't you pull over somewhere quiet and rest? I know a place. Just off the highway. Very quiet, very peaceful. Follow me and I'll show you. No. Why not, Ryan? Don't you trust me? We've known each other a long time. Remember when we worked together at that warehouse in 2015, you helped me move those boxes. I never forgot that kindness. I never worked at a warehouse in 2015. She was making things up now, mixing truth with lies, trying to confuse me. Sir, the operator's voice. Sir, what's happening? She knows my name, she knows details about my life. She's telling me to follow her somewhere. Do not follow her. Do not leave your vehicle. Officer is 6 minutes away. The woman, the thing, leaned closer to my window. Her breath fogged the glass, even though the night was freezing, and her breath should have been visible as vapor in the air, but wasn't. Just condensation forming on the glass from nothing. Ryan, you're being rude. I came all this way to see you. The least you could do is talk to me properly. Open the door. Let's talk face to face. No. Her smile widened, showing more of those too many teeth. Some of them were pointed, some were flat, some were shaped like no tooth I'd ever seen. Just a random collection of bone protrusions crammed into a mouth that was trying to look human. I can wait, she said. I'm very patient. Eventually you'll have to come out. Eventually you'll have to sleep. Eventually you'll have to let your guard down. And when you do, I'll be there. She turned and walked back to the Honda at Island 3, got in the driver's seat, started the engine. The headlights came on. Then she just sat there, engine running, lights on, staring at my truck through her windshield. She got in her car. I told the operator. She's just sitting there now with the engine running. Stay where you are. Officer is 4 minutes out. I watched the Honda. The woman's silhouette was visible behind the wheel, perfectly still again. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There was someone in the passenger seat, another figure, same size, same posture, sitting motionless. And then someone in the back seat, left side, another figure, and back seat right side, another one. The car was filling up with passengers that hadn't been there before. All of them sitting perfectly still, all facing forward toward my truck. There are more of them, I said, in her car. 4 of them now, just sitting there. Sir, stay calm. Help is almost there. The driver's door of the Honda opened. The woman got out. Then the passenger door opened. Another woman got out, identical to the first. Same gray hoodie, same build, same wrong movements. Both back doors opened. 2 more emerged, all 4 identical, all moving with that same mechanical gait. They spread out in a line, facing my truck, and started walking toward me in unison. They're coming toward me again. All 4 of them. They all look the same. Officers 2 minutes away. Stay in your vehicle. The 4 figures surrounded my truck, 1 at each door. They all knocked simultaneously. 12 knocks at the same instant, perfectly synchronized. Ryan, they all said together in that flat voice, creating a weird echoing effect. Open up, Ryan. We need to talk to you. It's important. It's about Emma. Your daughter is in danger. You need to come with us right now. We'll take you to her. She needs you. My heart was pounding. Emma was safe. She was with her mother in Santa Fe, 2 hours away, nowhere near here. This was a lie, a manipulation. You're lying, I said. Emma's safe at home. Are you sure? All 4 voices asked in unison. Have you checked? When was the last time you talked to her? What if something happened? What if she needs you and you're sitting here, refusing to help? What kind of father are you? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called Emma's mother, Jessica. It rang 4 times before she picked up. Ryan, it's almost 11. What's wrong? Is Emma okay? Is she there with you? Yes, of course she is. She's asleep in her room. What's going on? Nothing. I need to make sure she was safe. Can you check on her, please? I heard movement through the phone. Footsteps. A door opening quietly. She's fine, Ryan. She's sound asleep. What's happening? You're scaring me. I'm okay. I'm fine. Just keep your doors locked tonight. Okay? And don't open them for anyone you don't know. Ryan, what's going on? I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow. Just keep Emma safe. I hung up. The 4 figures were still surrounding my truck, staring at me through the windows. Emma's fine, one of them said. For now. But accidents happen, Ryan. Children wander off. They get lost. They get hurt. Unless someone's there to protect them. Someone who makes the right choices. Someone who cooperates when we ask nicely. What do you want? I asked. We want you to come with us, they said in unison. Just for a little while. There's something we need to show you. Something important. Something about the road ahead. If you don't come with us, you might not make it to Flagstaff. There's danger ahead, Ryan. We're trying to help you avoid it. Red and blue lights appeared in the distance, coming up the access road from the exit. The police cruiser. All four figures turned their heads simultaneously to look at the approaching lights, and they turned back to me. "Another time, Ryan," they said together. "We'll see you again. We know your route, we know your schedule. We'll be waiting." They walked back to the Honda in perfect synchronized steps, got in, and the car pulled out of the gas station. It turned onto the access road, heading away from the approaching police car, accelerated smoothly, and disappeared into the darkness. No brake lights, no turn signals, just smooth, constant speed until it was gone. The police cruiser pulled into the gas station, lights flashing. An officer got out, hand near his service weapon, scanning the area. I opened my door and climbed down from the cab. "You the one who called 911? He asked. He was young, probably late 20s, Navajo from the look of him. "Yeah, that was me. There was a woman here. Or 4 women. They were all identical. They were acting strange, saying weird things, and their movements weren't right." He looked around the empty gas station. "Where are they now?" "They left just before you arrived. Silver Honda sedan. Went that way." I pointed toward the access road. He pulled out his radio. "Dispatch, I'm at the Petro Express station off exit 26. Caller reported suspicious individuals in a silver Honda. Vehicle just left the scene heading east on the access road, requesting backup to search the area." A crackling response. "Copy that. Unit 12 is approximately 10 minutes from your location." The officer turned back to me. "Tell me what happened." "Everything." I told him the whole story. The woman pumping gas into empty air, her head rotating backward, the way she knew my name and details about my life, the multiplication of identical figures. As I talked, his expression grew more serious, less skeptical. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "How long have you been driving this route?" "About 7 years. Never had anything strange happen before. At night, on remote stretches?" "No, never." "Why?" He walked over to Island 3 where the Honda had been parked, crouched down and examined the ground with his flashlight. Then he stood up and walked over to where I could see what he was looking at. There were marks on the pavement, 4 sets of footprints, but they weren't normal footprints. They were elongated, with what looked like claw marks at the front, and they were deep, pressed into the asphalt like whatever had made them weighed much more than a human should weigh. "These aren't human tracks," the officer said quietly. "You see these claws? And the depth? Whatever made these was heavy and had talons." "What are they?" He stood up and looked at me directly. "My grandfather would tell you stories about things that walk the roads at night. Things that take shapes, learn faces, speak with borrowed voices. They watch travelers, learn patterns, wait for opportunities. Skinwalkers," I said. The word felt dangerous just saying it. He nodded slowly. "We don't use that word much. It can attract attention. But yes, that's one name for them. They've been reported on this stretch of I-40 for years. Usually they target solo travelers, people driving alone at night. They try to lure them off the highway, get them to stop in remote areas, get them to open their vehicles. What happens if someone does? Sometimes they're found later, wandering in the desert, confused, missing time. Sometimes they're not found at all. Sometimes their vehicles are discovered abandoned on side roads, doors open, no sign of the driver." He put his flashlight away. "You did the right thing. Stayed in your vehicle. Didn't follow them. Didn't open your doors. They knew things about me. Personal things. How is that possible? They're old. Very old. They've had a long time to learn how to read people. Some say they can pull information from your mind, access your memories. Others say they just observe patterns, listen to phone calls through technology, piece together information. Either way, they're good at it, good enough to be convincing." The backup unit arrived, another patrol car with an older officer. They conferred quietly, then the younger officer came back to me. We're going to search the area, check the access roads and side streets. Can you give me your contact information? We'll need to file a full report. I gave him my name, phone number, address, trucking company details. He wrote it all down, then handed me his card. Officer Tom Begay, if you see them again, any of them, or anything similar, call immediately. Don't try to handle it yourself. Don't engage. Just call. What if I can't call? What if there's no signal? Then you drive. Don't stop. Don't pull over. Don't sleep in your truck on the side of the road. Drive to the nearest town with lights and people. Park somewhere public. Wait until daylight. This really happens a lot, more than people realize. Most drivers don't report it because they think they'll sound crazy. Some report it and get told they were hallucinating from exhaustion or dehydration. But those of us who've worked this area long enough, we know. We've seen the reports. We've found the tracks. We've talked to the survivors. So some people don't survive, and he didn't answer that directly. Just said most people who follow the safety rules make it home fine. Stay in your vehicle. Don't engage with strangers who approach you on empty roads. Don't follow directions given by people who appear out of nowhere. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it usually is. I thanked him and got back in my truck. Sat there for a few minutes, letting my heart rate slow down, hands still shaking slightly. The officers drove off to search the area. The gas station was empty again, except for me and the clerk inside, who hadn't come out once during the entire incident. I wondered if he'd seen anything, or if maybe he'd learned to just stay inside when strange things happened. I went into the convenience store. The clerk was a kid, maybe 19, playing a game on his phone. He barely looked up when I walked in. Coffee fresh? I asked. Made it an hour ago. I poured myself a large coffee, grabbed a couple candy bars for energy, and brought them to the counter. As he rang me up, I said, "You see what was happening outside?" "Nope, don't look outside at night. Boss told me first day I worked here. After dark, stay behind the counter. Don't look out the windows. Don't go outside unless absolutely necessary." I follow that rule. It happened a lot. Strange things. He handed me my change. Enough that there's a rule about it. That's all I know. I just work here, man. I don't ask questions. Took my coffee and went back to my truck. Sat there for another 10 minutes, drinking the coffee, trying to decide if I should continue driving or just head back to Albuquerque. But I had a delivery to make. I had a job to do, and I couldn't let this, whatever it was, stop me from doing my job. I started the engine, pulled out of the gas station, and got back on I-40 westbound, toward Flagga. I kept my speed steady, stayed alert, checked my mirrors constantly. For the first 20 miles, I kept expecting to see that silver Honda appear behind me or alongside me, but it never did. The rest of the drive to Flagstaff was uneventful. I arrived at the distribution center around 3:15 a.m., delivered my load, logged my hours, and got a few hours of sleep in my truck in the well-lit parking lot surrounded by other trucks and drivers. The next day I drove back to Albuquerque during daylight hours. I didn't stop at that gas station, didn't even take that exit, used a different station 10 miles further west, made sure to stop during the day, made sure there were other people around. I filed a detailed report with my trucking company about the incident. They took it seriously, more seriously than I expected. Turns out, I wasn't the first driver from our company to report strange encounters on that stretch of I-40. They had a file with at least 6 other reports going back 3 years, all similar, all involving figures that appeared at night, knew personal information, tried to lure drivers to stop or follow them. The company updated their safety protocols. New rule: drivers on overnight routes through that area should travel in pairs when possible, should maintain regular radio contact with dispatch, should not stop at isolated locations after dark unless absolutely necessary. They also made it clear that reporting unusual encounters would not be held against us. wouldn't be considered a mental health issue or a drug problem. They wanted to know if anything happened. I talked to other drivers over the next few weeks, found out this wasn't limited to that one gas station. There were reports from rest areas, truck stops, roadside pullouts all along I-40 and I-25, figures appearing at night, voices calling from the darkness, people who looked almost human but not quite, all of them trying to get drivers to leave their vehicles, to follow them, to make bad decisions. One driver told me about an encounter near Lordsburg. He'd pulled over to take a nap at a rest area, woke up to someone knocking on his door. A woman claiming to be a stranded motorist needed help with the tire, but when he turned on his cab light to get a better look at her, he saw her reflection in the side mirror didn't match what she looked like through the window. Mirror showed something with too many limbs, crouched wrong. He'd driven away immediately. Another driver told me about a voice on his CB radio. Someone claiming to be another trucker broke down ahead, giving a location and asking for help. But when he checked his GPS, the location given would have taken him 10 miles off the highway on a dirt road that led nowhere. He'd reported it to Highway Patrol, but when they checked, there was no broken down truck, no tire tracks, nothing. The stories all had common elements. Nighttime encounters, things that looked almost human, information that should be private, attempts to lure people away from safety. And in every case, the people who stayed in their vehicles and didn't engage ended up fine. The ones who followed, who opened their doors, who trusted the wrong person, those were the ones who ended up in trouble. 3 weeks after my encounter, Officer Begay called me. "Mr. Ryan, Tom Begay, Gallup PD. I wanted to follow up on your report from January 14th. Did you find anything?" "We found the Honda." "Well, a Honda matching the description. It was abandoned on a dirt road about 15 miles south of the gas station. Silver sedan, late 2000s model. When we ran the plates, it came back registered to a woman who reported it stolen from an Albuquerque parking lot in December of 2023. So they stole the car. Looks that way. But here's the strange part. The car was completely clean inside. No prints, no DNA, no hair, nothing. It was like it had been sterilized. And the driver's seat was pushed all the way back, much further than a normal human would need it, like something with very long legs had been driving." "What about the security footage from the gas station? Did that show anything?" He was quiet for a moment. "That's the other strange thing. The footage from that night is corrupted. All 4 cameras. They worked fine before 10:20 p.m. and after 11:15 p.m. But during the time you were there, just static and distortion. The technical team said it looks like electromagnetic interference, but they can't explain the source." "Yeah, so there's no proof. There's your testimony. There's my report of the tracks I found. There's the abandoned vehicle. That's enough for a file. But no, there's no video evidence." He paused. "Between you and me, I think that's intentional. Whatever these things are, they seem to affect electronic equipment. Cameras, GPS systems, sometimes even vehicle computers. They don't want to be recorded." "Have you encountered them yourself?" Twice. Once when I was doing a traffic stop on I-40 about 3 years ago. Woman claimed someone was following her, said they'd been behind her for 50 miles, matching her speed exactly, never passing or falling back. When I went to check the vehicle she described, it was gone. No exits for 20 miles in either direction. Just vanished. The other time was last year. I responded to a report of a pedestrian walking on the highway at night. When I arrived, there were 4 of them, all identical, all walking in a line on the shoulder. I tried to stop them, and they just stepped off the road and disappeared into the darkness. No tracks, no signs they'd ever been there. What do you think they want? I don't know. My grandfather says they're looking for something, testing people maybe, searching for certain individuals, or maybe they're just doing what predators do, hunting. looking for easy prey. The weak, the isolated, the vulnerable. Am I still in danger? Will they come after me again? Honestly, I don't know. Some people report single encounters and never see them again. Others report being followed for months. My advice is to stay vigilant. Don't drive alone at night if you can avoid it. Don't stop in isolated areas. Keep your phone charged and your tank full. Trust your instincts. And if you see them again, call immediately. I had thanked him and hung up. That conversation stayed with me. The idea that these things might still be watching me, following my route, waiting for another opportunity, it made every nighttime drive feel dangerous. I changed my route after that, started taking I-25 south to Las Cruces, then I-10 west to Arizona instead of going through Gallup. Added almost 2 hours to my drive time, cost the company more in fuel, but my boss understood. After I filed my report, he told me driver safety was more important than efficiency. But even on the new route, I saw things sometimes, figures standing on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere, cars that appeared in my mirrors and then vanished without passing or taking an exit, voices on the CB radio that didn't sound quite human. I never stopped for any of it, just kept driving, stayed alert, maintained contact with dispatch. It's been 3 months now since that night at the gas station. I still drive for the same company, still do overnight routes, but I'm more careful now. I travel with another driver when possible. I only stop at well-lit, busy locations. I never pull over on dark side roads, and I keep Officer Begay's card in my wallet at all times. Other drivers have started talking more openly about their encounters. Now that the company has made it clear they won't punish us for reporting strange incidents, more stories are coming out. Turns out, this has been happening for years, maybe decades, and not just in New Mexico. Drivers from Arizona, Texas, Nevada, Colorado, all reporting similar encounters. Things that appear human but aren't, things that know too much, things that try to lure you away from safety. There's an informal network now. Drivers warning each other about specific locations, specific times of night, rest areas to avoid, gas stations with reputations, stretches of highway where encounters are common. The information gets passed around, truck stops, and over CB radio channels. It's not official, but it's effective. Here's what I learned, what I'll tell any driver or late night traveler who'll listen. If you break down or stop at a gas station or rest area at night and someone approaches you on foot in an isolated area, someone who appears out of nowhere, someone who knows personal information they shouldn't know, someone whose movements seem wrong or whose reflection doesn't match their appearance, stay in your vehicle with doors locked. Don't engage in conversation. Don't follow them anywhere. Don't open your doors no matter what they say. Wait for verified help. Help that arrives in marked vehicles with working lights. Help that can be confirmed through official channels. Verify identity before you trust anyone. These things, whatever they are, they're patient and they're intelligent and they're very good at seeming human, but they're not human. They're something else, something old, something that's learned to use our roads, our vehicles, our technology against us. They feed on isolation, on fear, on bad decisions made by tired, vulnerable people in the middle of the night. Don't give them that opportunity. Stay alert, stay safe, stay in your vehicle. And if something offers to show you a shortcut, or tells you someone you love is in danger, or promises to help you if you just follow them to a quiet place, don't believe it. It's lying. It's always lying. The roads through New Mexico are beautiful during the day. Ancient landscapes, stunning vistas, rich history. But at night, those same roads become hunting grounds for things that shouldn't exist. I still love my job, still love driving, but I respect the darkness now in ways I didn't before. And I never, ever ignore that feeling when something's wrong. Trust your instincts. They evolved over millions of years to keep us alive. When something feels off, when someone seems wrong, when a situation doesn't make sense, listen to that voice in your head telling you to be careful. It might save your life. If you drive for a living, especially overnight routes through remote areas, this information could keep you safe. Hit that like button so other drivers see this warning. Comment if you've had similar encounters on the road. I know from talking to other truckers that these incidents are more common than most people realize. Subscribe, because I have one more story from New Mexico, and then I'll be covering encounters from other states. The more we share these experiences and safety protocols, the better protected we all are out there. Stay vigilant on those lonely highways, and remember, your vehicle is your safest space. Don't leave it for the wrong reasons. My brother was standing at the edge of our campsite calling my name, but I was looking at my brother sleeping in his tent through the mesh window. Both of them, same person, same face, and the one at the edge of the trees was smiling at me with teeth that caught the firelight wrong. Too many of them, too sharp. My name is Derek. I'm 29 years old, work as a high school teacher in Santa Fe. My younger brother Jason is 26, works in IT for a tech startup in Albuquerque. Every year since we were teenagers, we've done a camping trip together in October, just the two of us, out in the wilderness, away from phones and work and responsibilities. It's been our tradition for over a decade. This year we picked the Gila Wilderness in southwestern New Mexico. Massive area, over 500,000 acres of remote forest and canyons. We'd never been there before, but we'd heard great things. Incredible hiking, natural hot springs, ancient cliff dwellings, wildlife. Perfect for a week-long backcountry camping trip. We drove down from Santa Fe on October 19, 2024. Took us about 5 hours to reach the wilderness boundary near the town of Glenwood. We stopped at the ranger station to get our backcountry permit and talked through our route plan with a ranger named Margaret Santos. She was in her 50s, weathered skin from years outdoors, gray hair pulled back in a practical bun. She spread a topographic map across her desk and had us trace our planned route with a finger. You're going in at the Sheila River trailhead, heading north along the river for about 8 miles, then up into the side canyon here, she said, tapping the map. Planning to camp at these locations. That's the plan, Jason said. 3 nights along the river, 2 nights up in the canyon, then back out. Margaret nodded slowly. This is good country. Beautiful. But it's serious. Wilderness. No cell coverage anywhere in there. Medical emergency means a multi-day hike out or helicopter extraction if you can get a signal from a ridgeline. We're experienced, I said. We've done plenty of backcountry trips. I'm sure you have, but this area has some particular characteristics you should be aware of. She pulled out a laminated card with safety guidelines. Standard stuff mostly. Bear safety, water purification, leave no trace. But there's one thing specific to this area that's not on the official list. Jason and I exchanged glances. What's that? I asked. At night, if you hear voices outside your camp, voices that sound like people you know, voices calling your names, voices asking for help, don't respond. Don't go investigate. Don't leave your tent or your campfire area. Why not? Jason asked. Margaret looked at us both carefully, like she was deciding how much to say. This area has a history. The Mogollon people lived here for centuries before they disappeared. Some of their descendants, the Apache and the Zuni, still consider parts of this wilderness sacred and dangerous. They have stories about things that live in the canyons, things that watch travelers, things that can mimic voices. Like animals, I asked. Mountain lions can sound human sometimes. Sometimes it's animals, she said. Sometimes it's something else. All I know is, we get reports every year from campers who hear voices at night. People who go investigate and get lost. People who follow the voices into the woods and don't come back for hours with no memory of where they went. It happens enough that we warn people now. Has anyone been seriously hurt? Jason asked. Define seriously. We've had people found with injuries they can't explain. We've had people found miles from their campsites with no idea how they got there. 2 years ago, we had a solo hiker disappear for 3 days. Search and rescue found him eventually. Dehydrated and confused, said something had been calling his wife's name all night and he'd followed the voice into a slot canyon. His wife died 5 years before that. That made my skin crawl. Okay, so don't follow voices at night. Got it. And one more thing. If you see other campers, other people in areas where people shouldn't be, trust your instincts. If something feels off about them, keep your distance. Some of the strangest reports come from people who encountered what looked like other hikers but who behaved oddly. We thanked her, took our permit, and drove to the trailhead. It was early afternoon when we started hiking. The weather was perfect. Mid-60s, clear sky, fall colors starting to show in the aspens at higher elevations. The trail followed the Gila River through a canyon with red rock walls towering on both sides. The sound of the river was constant and soothing. We made good time, hiking about 3 miles per hour with our loaded packs. Around 6 p.m. we found a good campsite on a flat area about 30 yards from the river. Plenty of space, established fire ring, clear view of the surrounding area. Perfect. We set up our tents, gathered firewood, filtered water from the river, and cooked dinner over the fire as the sun set behind the canyon walls. The temperature dropped quickly once the sun was gone, probably into the 40s. We sat by the fire, drinking tea, talking about work and life and all the usual stuff brothers talk about. Around 9 p.m., Jason went to his tent to sleep. He's always been an early-to-bed person. I stayed up by the fire for another hour, enjoying the solitude, the darkness, the stars. The Milky Way was incredible out here. No light pollution for 50 miles in any direction. Around 10 p.m., I banked the fire, put away the food in the bear canister, and crawled into my own tent. I fell asleep listening to the river and the wind in the cottonwood trees. I woke up to Jason screaming my name. Derek, Derek, help! Something's wrong! I was out of my sleeping bag and unzipping my tent in seconds. Jason, what's wrong? Where are you? Out here. I can't. Something's wrong with my leg. I fell. I need help. His voice was coming from the darkness beyond our campsite, maybe 50 yards into the trees. I grabbed my headlamp and turned it on, scanning the area. I could see my tent, Jason's tent, the fire ring with dying coals, the bear canister, everything normal. Jason, where are you? I called. Over here, follow my voice. I can't walk. I started to move toward the sound of his voice, then stopped. Something was wrong. Jason's tent was right there. I could see it clearly in my headlamp beam, and I could see through the mesh window. There was someone in the sleeping bag. Someone who looked like Jason, lying motionless. Derek, please. It hurts. I walked quickly to Jason's tent and unzipped it. My brother was inside, sound asleep, breathing slowly and deeply. I reached in and shook his shoulder. Jason, wake up. He stirred and opened his eyes, confused. What? What's wrong? Someone's out there calling my name, using your voice. He sat up, suddenly alert. What? Derek, why won't you help me? The voice from the darkness, still sounding exactly like Jason. My brother's face went pale. That's my voice. How is that my voice? We both stayed completely still, listening. The voice called again. Derek, I'm scared. There's something out here. Please come find me. Jason whispered. The ranger warned us. She said don't respond to voices. Derek, Jason, can you hear me? The voice was closer now, maybe 30 yards away. Still in the darkness, beyond the reach of my headlamp. I turned off the headlamp. Didn't want whatever was out there to have a target to move toward. We sat in the darkness of Jason's tent. barely breathing, listening. Footsteps, crunching on leaves and twigs, moving around the perimeter of our campsite. Slow, deliberate footsteps that stopped and started randomly, like someone searching. "I know you're in there," the voice said, still using Jason's voice. "I can see you're tense. Why won't you come out? Are you scared?" "There's nothing to be scared of. It's just me. It's Jason. Derek. It's your brother. Come out and talk to me." "That's not me," Jason whispered. "That's not me out there." The footsteps moved to my tent. We heard the sound of the zipper being pulled. Whatever it was had opened my tent and was going inside. "Derek's not in here," the voice said, talking to itself. "Where did he go? Maybe he's in the other tent." Footsteps moved toward Jason's tent. We could hear them clearly now, just feet away. Then the zipper on Jason's tent started to move. Something was opening it from outside. Jason grabbed his knife from his pack. I did the same. We pressed ourselves against the far wall of the tent, as far from the entrance as we could get. The zipper reached the top. The tent flap opened, and in the faint light from the dying fire coals, we saw a silhouette, person-shaped, Jason's height and build, but something was wrong with its proportions. Arms too long, neck too thin, head tilted at an angle that would be painful for a human. "There you are," it said in Jason's voice. "Why are you hiding from me?" They started to crawl into the tent. I turned on my headlamp and pointed it directly at the thing's face. It looked like Jason. Same face, same features, same hair, but the eyes were wrong. Completely black, no whites, just dark pits that reflected the light like an animal's eyes. And the mouth, when it smiled at us, the smile was too wide, stretching past where the corners of the mouth should stop, showing too many teeth. "Turn off the light," it said. "It hurts. Get out of our tent," Jason said, his voice shaking but firm. "Now." "But I am out of the tent," it said. "I'm right here with you. We're all together. Isn't this nice? Just like old times. Remember when we used to camp as kids? Remember the stories we'd tell? The scary stories?" "You're not Jason," I said. "I don't know what you are, but you need to leave." Its smile grew wider. "I'm exactly Jason. I know everything he knows. I know about the time he broke his arm falling off the monkey bars in 3rd grade. I know about his ex-girlfriend Katie. I know about the tattoo he has on his left shoulder blade that says Memento Mori. I know his social security number. I know his passwords. I know his fears." All of that was true. Every detail. "How are you doing this?" I asked. "I'm good at learning," it said. "I've had a long time to practice, longer than you'd believe. I've walked these canyons since before humans built cities, since before humans had language. I've learned so much. How to walk like you, how to talk like you, how to be you." It crawled further into the tent, moving with that same wrong gait I'd seen at the gas station months ago. Jason pressed himself against me, both of us cornered. "What do you want?" Jason asked. "To understand," it said. "You're so interesting, so complicated, so fragile. I want to know what it's like to be human, to feel what you feel, to think what you think. And the best way to learn is to become you. Let me borrow your shape for a while. I promise I'll take good care of it." "No," I said. "Get out, now." It stopped moving, tilted its head further, an impossible angle. "You're not being very hospitable. I came all this way to meet you, to learn from you. This is rude." "I don't care," Jason said. "Leave." The thing's expression changed. The too wide smile faded. The black eyes narrowed. "You don't have a choice." It lunged forward, reaching for Jason with those 2 long arms. Jason slashed with his knife, cutting across the thing's forearm. It recoiled, hissing. Not a human sound, more like a rattlesnake's warning. "That hurts," it said, looking at the cut on its arm. There was no blood, just a dark fluid that looked more like oil than blood. Why would you do that? I thought we were friends. We're not friends, I said. We're not anything. Get out of our tent, or I'll do worse than that. It backed up slowly, moving out of the tent, those black eyes fixed on us. You'll regret this. I was being nice, trying to do this the easy way. But there are harder ways, worse ways. You'll see. It disappeared into the darkness. We heard footsteps moving away from the campsite, back into the trees. Then silence. Jason and I sat in his tent for several minutes, breathing hard, holding our knives, listening for any sound of return. What the hell was that? Jason whispered. I don't know. But we need to get out of here, pack up, and hike out. Right now. It's pitch dark. We'll never find the trail in the dark. We'd get lost. He was right. We'd hiked 8 miles into the wilderness. The trail was narrow and winding, easy to lose even in daylight. Attempting it at night would be suicide. So we wait until first light, I said, and we stay together. Both of us in one tent, someone always awake and watching. We grabbed our gear from my tent and brought it into Jason's, set up a watch schedule, 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Whoever was on watch sat with the headlamp and the knife, watching the tent entrance. The rest of the night was a nightmare. We heard the voice constantly. Sometimes it was Jason's voice calling for me. Sometimes it was my voice calling for Jason. Sometimes it was our mother's voice calling for both of us. Sometimes it was voices of friends, co-workers, people from our past, and we heard other things. Scratching on the tent fabric, footsteps circling the campsite, heavy breathing just outside. At one point, something pressed against the tent wall, pushing inward, creating a bulge in the fabric. Jason poked it with his knife, and it withdrew immediately. Around 4 a.m., during Jason's watch, he woke me up urgently. Derek, look. I sat up and looked where he was pointing. Through the mesh window of the tent, we could see figures moving around our campsite. 5 or 6 of them, silhouetted against the faint pre-dawn light. All of them moving with that same wrong gait, all of them identical to each other, identical to me. They were all me, all wearing the same clothes I was wearing, all my height and build, moving in perfect synchronization, like they were connected. Why are there 6 of you? Jason whispered. I don't know. They were searching the campsite, opening my tent, going through our food, examining our gear, acting out a pantomime of normal camping activities, but slightly wrong. Movements too jerky, timing too synchronized. One of them picked up Jason's hiking boots and sniffed them. Another one sat by the dead fire and stared at the ashes. A third one walked to the edge of the river and just stood there, looking at the water, motionless. Then all of them turned their heads in unison to look at Jason's tent, at us. We could see their faces in the growing dawn light. All my face, but the eyes were wrong. The smiles were wrong. Everything was almost but not quite right. They started walking toward the tent, all 6 of them, moving in that synchronized way, perfectly coordinated steps. What do we do? Jason asked. Stay quiet, don't move. They surrounded the tent. We could see them through the mesh windows, standing in a circle around us, all staring inward, all silent. One of them spoke in my voice. Jason, we know you're in there. We know Derek's in there too. We've been watching you sleep. Did you know you snore? Both of you. It's kind of funny. Another one continued in my voice. We learned a lot about you tonight. Learned how you set up camp, how you organize your gear, how you sleep. We could do all of that now. We could be you and no one would know the difference. A third one spoke. We're going to follow you out of here. Back to your car. Back to your lives. We're going to watch and learn more. And when we know enough, we're going to replace you. One of us will go to Santa Fe and teach high school. One of us will go to Albuquerque and work in IT. Your families won't know. Your friends won't know. We'll be better versions of you than you are. That's not going to happen. I said through the tent fabric. All 6 laughed in unison. You can't stop us. You're just two humans. We're forever. We're patient. We have time. The sun was starting to rise above the canyon rim. Real sunlight, not just pre-dawn glow. As the light strengthened and reached our campsite, the six figures started to back away. They moved into the shadows under the trees, out of the direct sunlight. We'll see you again, they said in unison. On the trail, at your car, in your homes. We know where you live. We know everything about you now. Then they turned and walked into the forest, moving in perfect synchronized steps until they disappeared into the trees. Jason and I waited until the sun was fully up before we left the tent. We packed our gear as quickly as possible, didn't bother with breakfast, just filled our water bottles and started hiking back toward the trailhead. We made it about 2 miles before we saw them again. They were sitting on rocks alongside the trail, all 6 of them, still wearing my face and my clothes, watching us approach. Morning, they said in unison as we walked past. Nice day for a hike. We didn't respond, just kept walking, but they followed us, staying about 20 yards behind, matching our pace exactly. When we stopped to check the map, they stopped. When we sped up, they sped up, always maintaining that exact distance. They're hurting us, Jason whispered, keeping us on the trail, making sure we don't go off route. Why? I don't know. Maybe they want us to stick to predictable paths. Makes it easier to follow us. We hiked for 6 more hours with them behind us. Constant presence, never getting closer, never falling back. Always there, always watching. Around noon, we passed another hiker coming the opposite direction. An older man with a gray beard, wearing a faded blue jacket and a sun hat. He looked normal, moved normally. His eyes looked human. Afternoon, he said as we approached. You guys okay? You look spooked. Have you seen anyone else on the trail? I asked. Behind us? He looked past us down the trail. No, you're the first people I've seen in 2 days. Why? I turned around. The 6 figures were gone. Trail was empty. Never mind, Jason said. Must have been seeing things. The old hiker looked at us carefully. How many days you been out here? Just 1 night, I said. Where'd you camp? About 8 miles in, along the river. His expression grew serious. Near the side canyon? The one that branches north? Yeah. You hear anything strange last night? Why? That area is known for it. Voices, things in the dark. I've hiked this wilderness for 30 years. There are places I won't camp anymore. Places where something's off. That canyon's one of them. He adjusted his pack. He did the right thing hiking out. Some people try to tough it out, stay their whole trip. Those are the ones we have to search for later. Have people disappeared? Jason asked. Not exactly disappeared, but we find them sometimes, wandering off trail, confused, can't remember where they've been. One time we found a woman sitting in a cave about 5 miles from where she'd been camping. She'd been sitting there for 3 days. No food, no water. When we found her, she was just gone, mentally. Kept saying she was waiting for someone. Wouldn't say who. Never fully recovered. What do you think it is? I asked. He looked back down the trail, then at us. Old-timers from the Apache community say this whole area is thin. That's the word they use. Thin. Like the boundary between this world and something else is thinner here than other places, and things can cross over more easily. Things that used to live here long ago, before humans, still remember this place as theirs. You believe that? I've seen enough to know I don't understand how the world works. I know to trust my instincts. I know to respect the wilderness and the things that live in it. And I know not to camp in certain places. He started to move past us. Get to your car. Drive away. Don't come back to this area. There are plenty of other places to camp in New Mexico where you won't have complications. We thanked him and continued hiking. The 6 figures reappeared about 10 minutes later, back in their positions 20 yards behind us, following silently. It took us another 4 hours to reach the trailhead. The whole time they followed, never speaking, just walking, watching. When we finally reached the parking lot, our car was there waiting, only vehicle in the lot. The six figure stopped at the edge of the forest, just inside the tree line, watching us. We threw our packs in the trunk and got in the car. I started the engine. The figures were still there, standing in a line, all staring at us. Drive, Jason said. Just drive. I pulled out of the parking lot and onto the dirt road leading back to the highway. In the rearview mirror, I could see them standing there, watching us leave. As we got further away, they raised their hands in unison and waved goodbye. The drive back to Santa Fe took 5 hours. We stopped twice for gas and food, both times at busy, well-lit places with lots of people around. We didn't talk much. We were both exhausted, physically and mentally. When we got back to Santa Fe, I had dropped Jason off at his apartment. He grabbed his pack and stood there for a moment before closing the door. That really happened, right? He asked. That wasn't. We didn't both have the same hallucination? That really happened. What do we do now? Oh no. Report it to the ranger, I guess. Let him know there's something dangerous in that canyon. You think they don't already know? He was right. Margaret had warned us. She knew. Probably every ranger who worked that area knew. They just couldn't officially acknowledge it because how do you put beware of shape-shifting entities on a trail map? Be careful, I said. Watch for anything unusual. If you see copies of yourself or hear voices you recognize but shouldn't, call me immediately. You think they'll actually follow us? Come to our homes? I don't know. But the old hiker said they're patient, and those things said they know where we live. Jason nodded slowly. I'm going to install better locks on my doors, get some motion sensor lights for outside, maybe a security camera. Good idea, I'll do the same. He closed the car door, and I drove to my own apartment. It was almost midnight. The street was quiet, a few lights on in other units, but mostly dark. I parked and grabbed my pack from the trunk. As I walked toward my apartment door, I saw movement in my peripheral vision. I turned to look. There was someone standing under the streetlight about 30 yards away, wearing my clothes, my height, my build, too far away to see the face clearly, but I knew who or what it was. I didn't acknowledge it, just unlocked my door quickly, got inside, and locked it behind me, set my pack down and went to the window to look outside. The figure was still there, standing under the streetlight, watching my apartment. It raised one hand and waved at me. Then it turned and walked away into the darkness, movement smooth and human-looking, almost perfect. Almost. I called Jason. They're here. One of them's outside my apartment. I know, there's one outside mine too. I'm looking at it right now. What do we do? I don't know. Call the police and tell them what? That we're being stalked by shapeshifters from the Gila wilderness. They'll think we're crazy. We stayed on the phone for another hour, both of us watching our respective figures outside. They didn't approach our buildings and just stood in the street, watching, waiting. Eventually they left. Jason's walked away around 1 a.m. Mine left about 10 minutes later, just turned and walked down the street, disappearing into the darkness. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, we've seen them 4 more times. Once at Jason's office. He saw himself in the parking garage, standing next to a pillar, watching him walk to his car. Once at my school. I saw myself standing across the street during lunch break, watching the building. Twice at restaurants where we met for dinner. Figures sitting at other tables, wearing our faces, staring at us while pretending to eat. They're always just watching, never approaching, never speaking, just present, reminding us they're there, reminding us they're learning. We reported everything to Ranger Margaret. She wasn't surprised. She added our report to a file that apparently contains dozens of similar accounts. She said the patterns vary. Sometimes the entities follow people for weeks, then disappear. Sometimes they follow for months. Sometimes they eventually give up and move on to other targets. Are we in danger? I asked her. Physical danger? Probably not. They seem to prefer psychological methods, intimidation, stalking, creating fear and paranoia. But I can't promise you're completely safe. We don't fully understand them or what they want. What should we do? Live your lives. Don't let them control you through fear, but stay vigilant. Document every encounter. If they ever approach you directly or threaten you, call the police immediately. And she hesitated. Consider talking to someone from one of the local tribes. They have more knowledge about these things than we do. They might have protective measures we don't know about. We followed her advice. Jason contacted a colleague who has family in the Jicarilla Apache Nation, got introduced to an elder named Thomas who agreed to talk with us. Thomas listened to our whole story, nodding occasionally, not seeming surprised at all. They've chosen you, he said when we finished. Marked you as interesting. You went into their territory. You encountered them directly, and you resisted them. That makes you a challenge. Something to figure out. How do we make them stop? Jason asked. You can't make them stop. They'll stop when they decide to stop. But you can protect yourselves. Stay in groups when possible. Keep lights on at night. Don't invite strangers into your homes. Don't follow voices in the dark. And most importantly, don't show fear. They feed on fear. If you react to them, engage with them, let them see they're affecting you, they'll keep coming. But if you acknowledge them calmly and then ignore them, treat them as nuisances rather than threats, they usually lose interest. How long does that take? I asked. Depends. Could be weeks. Could be months. I've heard of cases where it was years. But eventually, they always move on. They're curious, not committed. You're entertainment to them, not prey. That was somewhat comforting. Somewhat. It's been 3 weeks since we met with Thomas. Sightings have decreased. We still see them occasionally. Last week I saw one standing in my apartment building's parking lot at 3 a.m. when I got up to use the bathroom and looked out the window. But they seem less persistent, less interested. We're following Thomas's advice, acknowledging them calmly when we see them. A simple nod, no fear, no engagement, then going about our business. It seems to be working. They watch for a few minutes, and then leave. I don't know if they'll ever fully stop. I don't know if we'll spend the rest of our lives occasionally seeing ourselves standing in parking lots or across streets, watching with those wrong eyes. But I have learned to live with it, learned to accept that there are things in this world that don't make sense, that don't follow normal rules, that exist in spaces between what we think we know and what's actually true. The Gila Wilderness is beautiful. It's vast, it's ancient, and it's home to things that were there long before humans arrived and will be there long after we're gone. Here's what I learned, what I'll tell anyone planning to camp in remote wilderness areas, especially in New Mexico. If you hear voices at night that sound like people you know, voices calling your names, asking for help, saying familiar things, don't respond, don't investigate, don't leave your tent or your fire. Wait until daylight to check, and you'll find nothing there. The voices are never from real people. If you encounter other campers or hikers in extremely remote areas, and something feels off about them, wrong movements, wrong proportions, wrong behavior, trust that instinct. Keep your distance. Don't engage in conversation. Don't give them information about yourself. If you see copies of yourself or your companions, multiple versions, identical versions, slightly wrong versions, don't panic. Stay calm. Acknowledge them neutrally and move on. They're testing you, learning from your reactions. Don't give them entertainment value. Stay in groups when possible. Never camp alone in areas with reputations for strange occurrences. Listen to ranger warnings even when they sound bizarre. The rangers know things they can't officially tell you. And if something follows you home from the wilderness, If you start seeing familiar faces in wrong places, if you feel watched constantly, document everything, tell people you trust, and seek advice from those who know the old stories. You're not crazy. These things are real, and you're not alone in experiencing them. Jason and I still camp together, still do our annual trip, but we choose locations more carefully now. We avoid areas with certain reputations. We listen to warnings. We respect boundaries. And we always follow the same rule. When something in the darkness calls your name, using a voice you recognize, don't answer. Don't go looking. Just wait for morning. Wait for light. Wait for reality to reassert itself. Because some things in the wilderness are older than human memory. Some things have learned to wear our faces and speak our words. And some boundaries should never be crossed, no matter how familiar the voice sounds calling from the other side. If you camp in remote wilderness areas, this warning could save you from a terrifying experience. Hit that like button so other campers and hikers see this information. Comment if you've had similar encounters in backcountry areas. These stories are more common than most people realize, and sharing them helps everyone stay safer. Subscribe, because I'll be covering more wilderness encounters from different regions, and the patterns we're seeing suggest this isn't limited to New Mexico. The more people who understand what to watch for and how to respond, the better protected we all are out there. Stay safe in the wilderness. And remember that some voices in the dark should never be answered.